Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, and Matthew Rocc. I'm Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us. Second alert weather, 67 degrees in St. Louis as we speak, with a high today of 81. Kind of breezy, a little bit of rain today, and then tomorrow a high of 81 as well, and breezy. And traffic on Olive Street Road right now, Olive Boulevard in Creveport, Missouri. Four cars now.
Five,
six, okay.
7.
But not much traffic. We don't have traffic in St. Louis. I was telling Brian Jordan that yesterday. Brian left a long time ago. I was at a golf tournament with him. And we were talking about traffic, and I said, we don't have traffic in St. Louis anymore, BJ. He said he might come back. He's in Atlanta. He's got a lot of traffic.
Yeah, there's plenty there, isn't there?
Yeah. I'm Captain Randy Carricker, 101 ESPN Jetcopter 2.
Thank you for the second alert weather, Randy. It is a gorgeous day outside.
Traffic and weather together on the ones on 101 ESPN.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
Not here, but at other places we worked at.
We did that, yeah.
We've been everywhere, Randy. We're getting old.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's all right.
The Cardinals were winners last night. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Blues with John Kelly later on in this program. A lot to cover until 10 o'clock. We are with you until then, and we'll start with the Cardinals. Another magnificent performance by the Cardinal right-hander Sonny Gray last night in Oakland, the site of where he started his major league career. 6 innings. He threw 72 pitches in 6 innings. He allowed 5 hits. He didn't walk anybody, struck out 6, and he dominated the Athletics. And the Cardinals win it by a score of 3-1, and the story of the night, clearly Sonny Gray.
Sonny Gray was clearly the story. Efficient is the best way to describe it. 11 consecutive shutout innings to start off his Cardinals career. That was his 100th career win as well, and he was able to do it where it all started for him. Sonny Gray is just continuing to impress me. Are you buying into it now, Randy?
Yeah. It's his stuff is there. And yes, even though he went against the Oakland Athletics, they're major league ball players, and he dominated them, and he was throwing strikes. It's not easy for anybody to be that efficient, and he'll have some umpires in Major League Baseball that won't allow him to be as efficient as he was last night, but he was terrific.
You hit it on the head there, guys. He's throwing strikes, and that sets up his repertoire. He's got 5 to 6 pitches. He got a lot of swings and misses, 6 strikeouts in the 6 innings. I thought another storyline was that the middle of the lineup finally hit. You know, you're talking about Nootbaar, Arenado, Contreras, 2 more hits for Winn, but in the middle of that lineup, they put Nootbaar batting third, and maybe that's a sign of things to come, to get him on base in front of some of the big boys. And one of those guys is Nolan Arenado, and he's starting to take better at bats as we move along here early in the season.
That home run was huge for him the other night in Arizona.
I think it was. So 5 hits in the middle of the lineup maybe gets him going, and they need to have the 2 different guys that are at the corners, Arenado and Goldie. And if they get them going, then this team is going to look a lot better. Only 8 hits again last night, but 5 of the 8 coming from the middle of the lineup.
But either way, you were able to score runs. That's the biggest thing, is that they were able to take advantage of that, take advantage of the opportunities, which is something that we've been looking to see. With Nolan Arenado, you're right, Dan. I mean, it felt like the weight was really lifted off of his shoulders after that big home run during that Diamondback series, and he's just hitting the ball hard now. You could just tell that he looks a lot more comfortable. Also have to give credit to Willson Contreras. What a great game it was for him. I know that he's still dealing with pain in his left hand, but the way that he's continuing to battle through it, he went 2 for 4 with a pair of doubles, RBI, and he threw out a would-be stealer at second base.
That's the first time the Cardinals have thrown out a base stealer, and I think it started with Mike Schilt in San Diego. They ran wild on the Cardinals, and you know, that's one of the things with Ivan Herrera. I want to see him in the lineup. I want to see him swing the bat, but there's got to be a focus on what's happening with the base stealers against the Cardinals. What is surprising to me, and it's early in the season, we talked about the importance of a quality start. You get a quality start, you're going to win about 65% of your games, and that's league-wide. And the Cardinals, only their 3rd quality start of the season last night. Only 3, so that's got to be better as they move forward, but that's the recipe for winning. Get a quality start, have the middle of your lineup hit or contribute in some form or fashion. You got a chance to win.
Absolutely. And tonight, the Cardinals will send Lance Lynn against J.P. Sears. And before too long, Sears will get shut down.
Here's my concern. Yeah, I get it.
Randy.
Aren't they keeping one open somewhere?
I miss Sears, honestly.
My biggest concern about tonight is that Lance Lynn is going to be cussing on the mound, and everybody will hear it. There'll be nobody that doesn't hear it, including you at home, because the parabolic mics will pick up everything from Lance Lynn. There was nobody at that ballpark last night.
Dan, they said there was 5,000 fans there, but it sure didn't look like it. I know that that's more of sold tickets, I'm assuming, is where those numbers come from, but it really felt like there wasn't anybody in there.
500? It felt like, yeah.
Would you guys go to a game knowing what this owner has done to this franchise and moving to Sacramento and then Vegas? And as a baseball fan, I'd go.
Yeah, as a Cardinal fan, if you're in the Bay Area, yes. But no, I wouldn't go to support him, John Fisher. He's the worst. Well, no, he can't. He'll never be the worst. We had the worst. But he's pretty bad.
I mean, and that's what I'm talking about. As a baseball fan, I'd go, but I'd feel kind of dirty if I was an Oakland native, because I know that my ticket that I bought is somehow a little portion of that is going to the Oakland A's, which means it's going to an owner that's well above $1 billion and could have worked with the city, didn't really do it, and now they're on their way out, which is a shame because there's a great history of the Oakland A's.
I know that there are a lot of people in our town that put on social media, oh, DeWitt should sell the team. Be thankful that the DeWitts built a stadium for you, and that's a franchise. The A's have been in 7 World Series in Oakland, and that ownership didn't have any trouble tearing that team down and getting it ready to move.
And the 70s teams were so much fun. They were loaded with Hall of Famers. Obviously, with Tony La Russa's teams in the late 80s were one of the best teams. A juggernaut with Canseco, McGuire, Ricky Henderson, Steinbach, Carney Lansford. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, they had studs on those teams. It's just really unfortunate what's happened.
And that's the part that bothers me the most about it, is just the rich history you have there, and purposefully John Fisher has just been basically tearing apart this team, getting it ready for a relocation, not investing in it in the way that he should. That's hard for the fans who have been dedicated for so long, and for the players, the former players, all that different kind of stuff. This is why you need a salary floor in baseball, which I know a salary cap comes with that, but this is why a salary floor is so necessary.
Yeah, you make an owner make sure that they pay, let's say, $100 million into your payroll. You stay a little competitive if you do that.
Yeah. Some players might not recognize it. I think the smart players do. Baseball does have a salary cap, and it's called the luxury tax.
Absolutely. And teams don't want to go over it.
Right.
I mean, they've openly said, I do not want to go over the luxury
Yankees
tax.
And the Dodgers go to great lengths to stay under the threshold.
Exactly.
One of the reasons that Shohei Ohtani is making $2 million a year during these 10 years rather than $70 million a year is so that the Dodgers can stay under the luxury tax threshold.
And again, teams have said, we do not want to go over the luxury tax. We're talking almost dollar for dollar with what you do when you go over the tax.
What's the reason that Mookie Betts is a Dodger and not a Red Sox?
Luxury tax.
Luxury tax. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. 100%.
So, Brooke, to your point, I don't know why when the players were offered a salary floor a few years ago during the negotiations, why they didn't scoop that up right away. Because 75% of the players are making well under the average. You know, that $4.5 million average is brought so dramatically up by Verlander, Scherzer, now Shohei Ohtani. Those guys making $40 million, but that's offset. 3/4 of the league is making nearly league minimum.
If I'm the Players Association and a young guy, which means I have no voice and no skin in the game that is actually going to be listened to, I'd ask the Players Association and those on the board, are we really working for the collective good?
No.
And the answer is no. We're looking to get the top-end guys paid.
Meanwhile, we had a couple of segments yesterday talking about why the Cardinals weren't starting Mason Winn at shortstop more. 12 of 16 games before last night, they had started Winn. So 25% of the time, their leading hitter hitting .349 wasn't in the starting lineup. And yesterday, before the game, manager Ali Marmol expounded on why Winn wasn't getting more playing time.
He's showing a crazy amount of toughness. This is a guy that's been dealing with the lower back issue. We've been trying to give him a couple days off, so he's not going too many in a row, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure how he played the first 2 in Arizona. He's been tough. He wants to be in there, and he's done a nice job. But we will control it. We're on the other side of it. He's feeling a lot better today, and we'll just keep an eye on it. But he's done really well.
So, Matthew, I didn't hear you. You heard the whole cut. I know it was edited. How long has Winn been dealing with these issues?
No, don't say it.
About a week back?
Actually, this might be legitimate to say he's been a week back.
Okay, why not be more transparent on Sunday?
Because then I think it limits your bench. So if you have a weapon coming off the bench and they know that he's not going to hit, why give away some kind of strategy that you might have?
Okay, that's legit.
I think that's a very fair point. And I do believe that during spring training, he was dealing with some back stiffness for a little bit during that time, for maybe the course of several days. I don't know about what you just said, Randy, week back. There you go. But I do understand your point, Dan, of what you're saying of this is a competitive advantage. You know, you don't have to reveal everything. But sometimes I do wish that the Cardinals would just be a little bit more upfront sometimes and more transparent about what's going on. I even think about earlier about Wilson Contreras, remember, with his injury, how it took them a minute. At first, I remember I was there. The reporters were asking, will you need another catcher just in case when he was hit by the pitch? And at first they said no. And then everybody goes to the press box. And then the transaction was revealed that they did call up another catcher. So sometimes I just feel I understand that you have to keep certain things behind closed doors, but maybe some transparency would help.
It's almost like they have to have somebody make them look bad before they are transparent about it. And I totally get for the one game having the competitive advantage. But yesterday, everybody's talking about the fact that Winn isn't playing and saying, well, what are you doing here with a 22-year-old? And then it's almost like, okay, we're being criticized. We better tell the truth here.
Don't you think, though, that at some point when you look at a lineup over the long haul of baseball and it doesn't make any sense, and it didn't make any sense to have Mason Winn out of the lineup, that there's probably underlying factors with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at that and I thought, and I know people are going nuts over this, and I thought there's got to be something more to the story. Usually there is, and teams just don't want to give that competitive advantage out, which I understand. I understand why they do that.
Back in the day, as I mentioned yesterday, when Pedro Guerrero didn't play a day game after a night game, we knew why. You know, and what he did say, by the way, that aside from Brett,
well, he was sleeping.
Yeah,
he was sleeping things off.
Yeah, he was. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, if you're around the ball club, you kind of had an idea.
Yep.
Whitey said that after George Brett, Pedro Guerrero was the best hitter with a hangover that he ever had.
Heard a story that that Guerrero was dealing with that, and it was bad, and something happened, and they got him off the trainer's table, and then went out and he got 3 knocks.
Yeah.
You know, he just roll out of bed, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, and obviously that was apt to happen in Chicago now and then. It was a Friday afternoon game in Chicago. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yep. There's just some guys that can roll out of bed and they can just flat out hit.
And hit a home run, too.
Yes,
among his 3 hits.
But I do understand being cautious about this with Mason Winn. One, you saw yesterday when he's back in the lineup, he does make a difference. I think his average is now 370. He had 2 hits yesterday. He really provides a spark to this offense. But not only that, you don't really have many options defensively for your shortstop. And I know that you have Brandon Crawford there, but I think if we had to pick and choose here, of course you want Mason Winn playing as much as possible. So you need to make sure he can stay healthy for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you got to treat it. A couple of other notes. Rashee Rice of the Chiefs being sued in Texas for $1 million in actual damages, $10 million in punitive damages for the car accident. I guess it wasn't really an accident that he was involved with when he was drag racing.
He was racing, right?
Yeah, against his own car.
It was a Lamborghini.
He had a Lamborghini, and his buddy was driving it from SMU was driving a Corvette.
Yeah.
So, those guys are being sued. And as expected, Caitlin Clark was first in the WNBA draft.
How do you guys think she's going to fit into the WNBA? That's what I kept on thinking, like, here's the greatest maybe college player that we've seen on the women's side, and how will that project to being a pro?
I know Diana Taurasi wants her to get knocked around. Let's see if they can knock her around from the logo, though. That's not going away, that three-point ability. So I think that she'll be fine. I don't know if going to the hole, she went to the hole a lot in college. She might get knocked around a little bit in the WNBA.
At this point, I think Caitlin Clark continues just to prove doubters wrong. And it seems like something that she uses motivation. And so I think it will be great for her. And I hope that this is something that can really improve the WNBA and the interest surrounding it. Because everybody was talking about her salary last night. She's going to make $76,000 in her first season. I believe it's a little over $400,000 during the course of her 4-year contract. And so hopefully maybe her coming in, bringing in some more star power and continuing. She doesn't have to maybe do exactly what she did in college basketball. But continuing to bring that star power into the WNBA, it can really raise it to that next level.
I think as a TV viewer or as a fan, you got to run into the games. And three out of every 4 games is on national television. So if you're flipping around and you see that she's on, I think that more people would stop and watch. And it maybe is not appointment TV if you're not a hardcore WNBA fan. But if you're flipping around and you see her on the television, you probably stop and watch a little bit.
And they have a big girl that they took with the first pick last year. The Indiana Fever does, Aaliyah Boston from South Carolina. Now they add Clark to the mix, and they've sold a ton of tickets in Indianapolis. So they'll do well. Congratulations to Caitlin Clark on going first overall. Coming up, how badly did the Cardinals need that Sonny Gray performance last night? That's coming your way on the opening drive with Brooke, Dan, and Randy on 101 ESPN. Hey, St. Louis City SC fans, you can get your exclusive City SC debit card from Together Credit Union. Together Credit Union is the only place to find this official fan debit card, and it comes with amazing special perks like a free lifetime My City Plus membership. That's fantastic. You also, at City Park, you get in-stadium discounts on food, beverages, and merchandise. That merchandise at their Pavilion Team Store. And most exciting, express entry into City SC matches with the Together Credit Union City SC debit card. As a special bonus, Together Credit Union is going to send you a commemorative print of City Park Stadium, the home of St. Louis City SC, while supplies last. How do you get the card? It's easy. Open any personal checking account online at togethercu.org or stop by any of Together Credit Union's 14 local branches and choose the St. Louis City SC debit card at account opening. There's no cost for the City SC debit card, so don't wait. Sign up today and show your pride for St. Louis City SC. Membership eligibility required, federally insured by the NCUA.
man, he's so great with his game plan, the way he goes through his business, the way that he stick to his plan is just unbelievable. Today he had everything working. We knew that we have a pretty young team swinging really early. That helped us a lot, and I'm glad that I was behind the plate helping him.
He started his career with the Oakland Athletics, and last night Sonny Gray comes home
You
to
just
Oakland.
look for ways to play that.
I
Because
do.
you said that Sonny came home at a Busch Stadium start.
Well, now this is his current home.
All right.
6 innings, 72
Stretching it
pitches, 50
just a
strikes.
little bit, Randy.
I know.
I'm really sad you didn't tell me that you were going to play that, because I also have Sonny Gray talking about what it was like to play in Oakland for the last time probably ever in his career.
Oh, okay. Do we have that now?
I do have that now, yes.
Okay, let's hear from Sonny Gray, who playing in Oakland, perhaps for the last time.
I mean, I kind of knew it going into this week, right? Like when I was like, okay, I'm throwing the first game in Oakland, you're kind of sitting there and like, you know what? It's probably going to be my last start here. I had so many starts here, and just knowing the whole week that this is probably your last one that you'll have, probably the last time we'll play here. Yeah, it was a pretty special. I mean, like people say, like, just what an insignificant game it is, and this and that and whatever. But to me, it had a lot more meaning than just a game in the middle of whatever month it is.
Oh, man. Randy. Randy, come on.
Good for Sonny. And by the way,
If he doesn't know what month it is, he's pretty locked in.
He is, yeah. And they had won 6 of 8, the A's had, so he could be pitching against them in the World Series.
I like that he marches to the beat of his own drum. 6 scoreless, of course, we talked about how efficient he was. That was my biggest takeaway, is efficient. But also, did you guys see him staying loose in between innings?
Yeah,
I don't think I've really observed that much before.
I've never seen it.
Not in a regular season game.
No.
See plenty of that in spring training, but not regular season. He went to the bullpen to stay warm. I think it was in the 6th inning, just to get hot as the Cardinals were continuing to garner a little offense, and it was taking a while. So he goes down into the bullpen, and there's not many bullpens left. I don't know how many are left now.
That might be the only one.
I think they are, where the bullpen is actually in play and not having a bullpen that's out of play.
So here's, to me, why last night was such a key for the Cardinals and for Sonny Gray. In their previous run through the rotation, Lynn had given them 5 innings, no earned runs, although a couple of unearned runs. Matz had gone 4 2/3. Gibson had gone 6 and allowed the 4 earned runs. And then Michaelis in the game before had gone 4 2/3. And the Cardinals needed that quality start. And Dan, you had a stat before the show on quality starts for the Cardinals.
3.
This is the 3rd for them. They need more of those. And that was game number 17 last night. But because of the performance of the starters, and it's going to be a roller coaster for these guys all year long. That's just the way they are at this stage of their career. The Cardinals desperately needed that sort of a start from Sonny Gray. And then, by the way, the bullpen was fantastic, too. Let's not dismiss what those guys did, because
Andrew Kittredge once again.
I kind of look at him as a high-leverage guy now.
I thought of that going into the season, especially with Middleton down.
Yeah, if I'm in the Cardinals, if I'm in Ali Marmol's situation, I have no problem with him pitching the 7th in a high leverage game.
And you had Romero after that, and then Ryan Helsley picked up the save, so he's got 6 already. I feel it's like an 8-inning game if you go into the game knowing that Ryan Helsley is available.
Right.
And so you manage a little bit differently, too. You know, you can put guys, let's say, in the 7th or the 8th that are more high leverage than maybe you would with others in the 8th and the 9th if he's not available.
And remember what Ned Yost had in 2015. I guess it was 2014 in Kansas City, the HDH. It was Herrera, Davis, Wade Davis, and Holland. And if they had a lead after 7, man, those 3 shut it down with the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And if the Cardinals can find that combination, and I don't know if they can do it with Kittredge, Romero, and Helsley, I think it's the most likely, but that would be nice to have, because you built this team based upon your starters giving you 6. If you could do that more times than not, then you can win a lot of games.
You really can. And Sonny Gray, he looks as advertised. I can't wait to see him without a pitch count because he was still on a pitch count yesterday. 75 pitches was his limit. I think he only used 72 pitches to get through the game. But I think that right now, this starting rotation is doing kind of exactly what I expected. Now, with Lance Lynn, he's been pretty good. I still would like to see him pitch into the 6th inning. He has not done that yet through 3 starts.
Going back to Gray, the one thing I love, he hasn't walked anybody.
Yes.
And he's got a repertoire that if you get ahead in the count and he's pounding the strike zone, he's going to be able to get out of jams. He had a little trouble with 2 singles allowed, the only really true threat about midway through the game, and it was later in his start, and then he used his quote-unquote sweeper to get Seth Brown to swing and miss. Something that the Cardinals are doing to keep an eye on, they've got 46, this is across the board with their pitching staff, 46% fastballs, which is down from last year by about 7%. And if you can have swing and miss stuff with your secondary pitches, you got a chance to win some games here as long as you throw strikes.
Yeah, the fastball is no longer the primary pitch in baseball.
Exactly.
And if you have a great one, you can do a lot of things with it. Helsley out of the bullpen last night. But one of the reasons that it's not is because of the max effort. And it's hard to go max effort when you're a starter. Unless you're Justin Verlander and know when to use max effort, it's really difficult for pitchers to get innings if their primary pitch is their fastball. So most, Gray being a perfect example, most pitchers are using different stuff. But the key is you've got to be able to throw strikes with your secondary stuff. He can do that.
Yeah. Just to go off the beaten path here, I went and looked at fastball usage across the board in Major League Baseball. The top 18 guys that are the hardest throwers in baseball, 9 of the 18 are hurt now.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's
9 of the 18.
Yep, that's the max effort thing.
Yeah.
Now, one other quick point here about the Sonny Gray appearances. And we've talked about what he's doing, not walking anybody. Last night, 72 pitches, 50 for strikes. If I am, and I know they're completely different pitchers, but if I am Zach Thompson, if I'm Matthew Liberatore, if I'm Ryan Fernandez, if I'm a young, inexperienced major league pitcher, I'm watching what he's doing to succeed, and I want to emulate not the stuff, but the approach.
I would say that this goes all the way back to Chris Carpenter, who handed it off to Adam Wainwright, and they started doing bullpens where every starter would go out there in between starts. So just for fans that don't know, and I'm sure many do, but about midway through the 5 days that you're off, you're going to go throw a bullpen. You're going to go work on different things. Maybe it's your stride. Maybe it's working from the stretch, curveball, whatever. And they started going out there and watching every guy throw. It really actually started with John Smoltz in San Diego when he had 9 strikeouts against the Padres. And so they started to carry over not only what you do on the mound between the white lines every 5th day, but they were sitting there watching each other throw and to say, oh, this is what this guy, maybe I can pick up something. I'm with you, Randy. I think 100% is that if Sonny Gray brings this intensity every single time and is having success, maybe that's the way that I need to be doing this as I move forward in my career.
And Sonny Gray even said during the course of spring training that he is an open book for all these players, other veteran players, even younger players. So I'm sure that he is making himself available to the rest of them. And I was talking about earlier about him marching to the beat of his own drum. How many do you think of those other players, the young ones, watching him where he was throwing, that little mini bullpen session, we're like, okay, maybe that's something I need to do. Just the intensity that he brings every single game, you can feel that, and it's hopefully something that can rub off on those younger players.
People will always tell you, especially the veteran pitchers or the retired pitchers, that the biggest part of pitching is the 6 inches between your ears.
Oh, 100%. Mentally, and really, that's the whole game of baseball is mental. Can you get through with failure? The best in the world do it 3 out of 10 times at the plate. 7 times you're going back being frustrated. Can you deal with the failure? But also how you prepare. And, one thing that Sonny Gray does, anytime you watch him in the dugout, he's got a ball in his hands. He's got a baseball in his hand. I love that. He's always working on grips and trying to do different things. And so, I think if you're a young guy, you try to look at that and look at the intensity that he brings. It's not always going to work, but the intensity that he brings to get ready for every start.
I remember an iconic, for me, All-Star Game shot of Tim Lincecum asking Mariano Rivera to show him the grip on his cutter.
Right.
Right.
And that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You know, there are different guys. I remember that Andy Bennis went to Chuck Finley.
Yep.
Chuck Finley taught him a splitter, forkball, whatever you want to call it. And
Sweeper.
Not a sweeper, but it gave Bennis a new pitch down the stretch when he was all but forgotten.
Changed his career.
Changed his career down the stretch. And the Cardinals went from stay at home, don't come back to, hey, do you want to sign an extension?
Yeah.
It just changed everything for him.
Amazing. The Cardinals back in action against Oakland tonight, 8:40 on Bally. Hey, coming up, how much did the young Blues players change your mind about them down the stretch? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday opened up their series in Oakland with a win, 3-1 win over the Athletics. Sonny Gray with his second start for the Cardinals. He went 6 innings through 72 pitches. 50 of those were for strikes. He had 5 hits allowed, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Cardinals will be back in action for Game 2 today. Also an 8:40 first pitch in Oakland. It'll be Lance Lynn facing off against the lefty J.P. Sears. Sears on the season, 1-1 with a 5.17 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
play their final game of the season tomorrow night in Dallas against the Stars, who will probably wind up as the top seed in the Western Conference. And the Blues, as we know, are not going to have Jimmy Snuggerud next year. At least we should say at the moment, we don't believe they're going to have Jimmy Snuggerud. He's announced that he's coming back to Minnesota. It would be a surprise if he would change his mind once the NHL season ends. But Dvorsky is not ready. Teddy Lindstein is not ready. So they're going to be impact guys off the bat. But down the stretch, the Blues have gotten, or all year long, the Blues have gotten good performances out of Jake Neighbours, 27 goals in 77 games. Zach Bolduc, after a slow start in April, has 3 goals and an assist in 4 games, and he's a +1. And he's shown that he has the skill set, at least, that the Blues told us that he had, and might have a chance to be a good NHL player. We've seen the development of Matt Kessel. Dan liked him from day one. Perunovich looks like, as a healthy player, he's got a chance to be pretty good. And that's what we're going to be looking at next year. The question is, do you have confidence in those guys? Let's limit it to Neighbours, Bolduc, Kessel, Perunovich. Will those guys provide enough positive impact and improvement next year to get the Blues into the playoffs?
Into the playoffs, that might be somewhat of a stretch, but I feel like you have to have some patience, which I know I'm carrying that over from the Cardinals, and nobody wants to hear that. But it's very clear that they're starting to turn the page over even more so because they've been building towards that, towards the youth movement. You have those younger players coming in. Bolduc, by the way, has really impressed me. I think that he's proven that he can really develop into a top 6 forward. We even saw him with some top line minutes with Robert Thomas and Braden Shin here recently. I do have some question marks for certain guys. With Scott Perunovich, that is one where I have some concerns. He's had injuries, and that's something that, I know has limited his time, but still, he's left a lot to be desired, and he was injured again this season, just playing in 53 games, 0 goals and just 17 assists. And he is supposed to be more of an offensive defenseman, if that makes any sense.
I think he's limited by the fact that Torrey Krug is on the roster. And I think Krug is getting a lot of the minutes that Perunovich ordinarily would. I think, for lack of a better term, I think Perunovich is blocked by Krug, and I think that he could put up the same numbers as Krug if he got the same minutes as Torrey Krug. So I do think the skill set is there. I've seen enough from Perunovich to make me believe, and not that I think they can move Torrey Krug this offseason, but I've seen enough of Perunovich to allow me to believe that he has a chance to be a more than serviceable player.
I've seen enough of Zach Bolduc, as Brooke said, to pair him with Robert Thomas. Those two have nice chemistry. Bolduc is a shooter, pairs nicely with a playmaker like Thomas. I think it's a realistic option moving forward. We haven't mentioned Kyrou. We haven't mentioned Parayko as building blocks for next year. I mean, Kyrou finishes this year first in goals, tied for first in 5-on-5 points. He's first in shots by nearly 50. And Parayko, we haven't talked enough about him. I think he had as solid of a year as you could have possibly expected, and a growth year for him. 211 block shots. Leads the league.
I don't know that he can get much better than he was this year. Now, I think there is growth there for Kyrou, and I have buy-in on Jordan Kyrou. He, in his last 32 games, 30 points in his last 32, including 17 goals, that's a 45-goal pace, which is what we would anticipate that his skills could deliver.
And, Randy, those were stretch-run games that he was doing this in. It was playoff-type games when they were trying to get into the playoffs. The other thing that I look at, though, that may hamstring them a little bit, if you're a fan out there and wondering what they may do in this offseason. Now, they have this young core we're talking about. Those guys aren't going anywhere. 30-year-olds with 2 or more years remaining on their contracts, they have 8 of those. So it may really hamstring them moving forward to what they want to do in this offseason, free agency-wise or movement-wise, if they can move some of these guys. But that's why you look at the young guys being kind of the core, the nucleus moving forward with this team.
I'm trying to think, aside from Falk, have there been any injury issues with this team?
That's the other thing, man. They stayed injury-free for the most part this year. They really did.
Yeah. So they haven't had to use that depth. Sonny, I guess, with the ACL.
Oscar Sundqvist, yes. Yeah. And Falk was a big one, too, because I believe that that's what happened with his season. And even when he came back, he still didn't look completely right. From the 618, you haven't mentioned Tucker yet, and I'm excited to see him continue to stay with the Blues. He's an old-school player who isn't afraid to get in the mix and hit people. We talk about adding maybe some more of that personality. Dan, we mentioned this yesterday, where you have a list of things that you need to acquire if you want to continue to build and retool this team. One, you need a true number 2 center. You need a rugged defenseman, and maybe you even need more of a personality hire in the way of like what Patrick Maroon was. You need some guys that have more of that rugged feel to them, and Tucker seems to bring at least some of that intensity to this team.
For you guys, Toropchenko? Could he be that guy?
He certainly brings a physicality to the sport.
I love watching him play.
Me too. He's great. Thing about Tucker, he's a nice player. But I don't think that he's a guy that you play 75 games. I think that he's a guy you play against certain teams, and maybe he's a 35, 40-game guy, but you play him against the more physical teams. But I don't think that he has the foot speed to play, for example, against Colorado. He's limited, and he's great for what he is. He gets the most out of his abilities. That's not my question. My question is, what do his abilities allow him to do ultimately?
I want to go back to Kyrou for just a moment. I know that some people believe that he's too inconsistent. The text line has said that. They don't buy in on that. But to the numbers that you just gave, Randy, down the stretch, what else do you want from him? I mean, I know he's a frustrating player, and there are times that you look on the ice and he's non-existent. But if he didn't have the contract that he has right now, would we be talking about inconsistency with Jordan Kyrou?
No, and here's the way I'm looking at this. I'm looking at it from a 5,000-foot view. I know that we look at it game by game by game by game, and there are certainly a lot of games where we feel like, oh, man, let's trade this guy. But if you look at it from a 5,000-foot view and look at the 82-game schedule, where are you going to get a guy that scores 30 and has the potential to score 40? He scored 37 last year. He's been a point-a-game guy for each of the last 2 years. Where do you replace that from?
That's going to be hard to find.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Currently constructed, you won't.
No.
And that's my point. And I just think that in sports, we look at contracts, and rightfully so. You want players to live up to the contract. I mean, look at Goldie and Arenado. They're making, over $50 million combined or whatever it is, or right around it. You expect them to perform, and they should. They should live up to the contract or give effort. I just think that he takes a lot of the beating of what happened this year, and I'm not sure that we need to give him that much. Maybe there's times in which he's non-existent on the ice, and I understand that. You want to get more out of him, but he's kind of a lightning rod. And with what happened with Chief on the way out, that was a tough situation for him too.
I think those are all things that are very valid to bring up, because there is times that he is very inconsistent, and you do need your guys. You do have the big contract. It's like how we talk about Noah Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt so much with the Cardinals, because those are your big money, big contract guys. And so all eyes are going to be on you every single game. And it seems like there were some stretches where Kyrou maybe, I would say body language would be the best way to describe it sometimes with him, where it just looked like he would sometimes give up on things. And you could feel it. Everything that happened too with Craig Berube this season, there was a lot of times where Jordan Kyrou would say we instead of I. And I don't expect him to go out there and be Ryan O'Reilly leadership-wise, but it felt like there were so many times where instead of maybe saying, yes, I should do better in this situation, or I this or I that, like how even Robert Thomas does, you heard a lot of we coming from him.
Here's the way I stand on this. If the Blues were to start next season without any roster changes at all, and I will grant you that they didn't have any injury issues to speak of this year, but I would think that improvement from Neighbours, Bolduc, Kessel, Perunovich, and I'll even throw Tucker in there. Those guys would get you 3 more wins and get you into the playoffs. Those guys playing a whole season like they've played down the stretch here would be good enough to get you 3 more wins and into the playoffs.
100% agree. I mean, I don't think you can overlook the value of what the last 20 games were for this young team and the young players that you mentioned. Can I go back to Kyrou again?
Yeah.
He's part of the young nucleus.
Yes, he is.
And
let's throw that in there. Yep.
We forget that he's still a young player that's learning, whether you want to believe that or not. And a lot has been put on his shoulders because of the contract. But take that out of the equation just for a moment. And I understand it's part of it. But he's still part of the young nucleus that you have that can get better and better as you move along.
Exactly. And hopefully he will continue to grow. And you saw that especially here towards the end. You need that. You need that goal scorer. He is highly talented and skilled. And by the way, guys, we didn't even mention Jake Neighbours yet. And that's another player that I felt like was just such a surprise. I don't know if you could say surprise, but you appreciate and you saw his hard work every single shift. And it felt like he got rewarded with 27 goals this season.
Will a coach give you more wins next year, or do you stay with the same coach and feel like, hey, this guy got the best out of what he had?
When the Blues, let me put it this way: the Blues have the 15th best record in the league. With only the time that Drew Bannister was the head coach, they have the 13th best record in the league. It's not substantially better. I do think that an experienced coach, and generally when you see a Stanley Cup champion, John Cooper is kind of an outlier, and Bednar to an extent. But, man, most of the time when teams win a Stanley Cup, it's on a coach on his second or third team.
And do you feel like if you're Doug Armstrong and you're taking the 1,000-foot view and you say, are we realistically getting into the playoffs next year, or we just kind of squeak in? A lot of times it just seems like this is the MO in hockey, is that you have that one coach that gets you too close to getting in, and then once you think the next year that you're going to get, that's when you go out and get that veteran guy to maybe get the most out of your team and a guy that's been there before.
Here's the thing that I'm looking at, though. Our late great friend Larry Wiggy we had a lot of
the
great
hockey news, man. I love it.
It was great, and we had a lot of great hockey conversations. But during the greatest show on turf, he made the comparison between Mike Martz using the whole field and Joel Quenneville using the whole ice. And Quenneville's system lends itself to the skill sets of these young players, the speed that they have, the passing ability, the pass catching ability that they have. I really do think, and I grant you, that the old school, being able to see everybody on the ice on your TV, all 5 players together, it's a big thing. It does work. But I think this particular group, if you go back to the Hawks, when they really got rolling, he was using, Quenneville was, the entire ice. And I really think this group would thrive systemically or systematically under...
systematically.
Yeah. Under the teachings and the stylings of Q. I think he'd be great for his system would be great for the skill sets of these players.
Also, I think he'd be great for the fan base.
Yeah.
There'd be an excitement if he came back to saying, I truly believe that. I think there'd be an excitement if he was the head coach of the Blues. And I'm not trying to say that Drew Bannister should not be the head coach of the Blues. I'm just talking about specifically with Q, if you brought him back with a team that has a chance to make the playoffs, and maybe not next year, but the year after that, there'd be an excitement around this team.
What'd you think of him, Q? I didn't mind him.
Right.
You betcha.
He was fine.
Do you think enough time has passed with the whole situation with him and the Blackhawks? I know that he recently did, and everybody should go listen to that. On the Cam and Strick podcast, he did an interview with Andy Strickland where he dove a little bit into more of it, and he was very transparent about everything that happened during his time with the Blackhawks. Do you think enough time has passed? Would there be any backlash or too much backlash?
There will be people around the league that are against a return of Quenneville. But at some point, I would hope, he did not commit the crime. Did he go overboard in trying to win a Stanley Cup? Yes. It was 2010. They were in the Stanley Cup run. They were in the Stanley Cup in the Western Conference Finals when this meeting was held. He was in the meeting. And it wasn't just him. Cheveldayoff, the general manager of the Jets, nobody's complaining about him being in the league. He was in the meeting. McDonough, the president of the team, was in the meeting. Bowman was in the meeting, the general manager, and Q and some other people. And Quenneville said, and he didn't know the depth of what had happened either, according to him. And he said, hey, let's just wait until the season is complete, which was another series to go. And as it turns out, this kid had been sexually abused by one of the coaches, an assistant coach. And so it's a heinous situation. But at some point, I think you have to look at what the NHL, how they've handled it, the price that Quenneville has already paid. And I think you have to say, at some point, the guy deserves another chance. That's the way I would look at it. And I know there are going to be people out there that say, no, he doesn't, because they believe that he was the key performer in all of this. In my reading of the report, I don't believe he was the main person that caused the issues or allowed this guy to stay on their staff for the rest of that postseason. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Take It or Leave It next on 101 ESPN.
The Cardinals game's a little bit later tonight, so you got plenty of time to jump on Underdog Fantasy and put in your latest entry on their Pick'em product, Pick'em Champions. You just pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, select higher or lower on the player stats, then you pick your entry fee. You're going to be entering the game alongside other underdogs. As long as you hit your entries, though, you're walking away with your winnings. Let's build an entry for tonight's Cardinals game. Lance Lynn is on the mound for the Cardinals. Can he have his longest start of the season against this Oakland A's team? I'm going to take that, so we're going to go higher than 16.5 pitching outs. This means essentially he's got to go longer than 5 1/3. On the other side, JP Sears, the starter, a lefty for the A's. I'm going to go higher than 5.5 hits allowed for him. And how is he going to allow those hits? Well, let's get 2 of the big righties for the Cardinals on this entry as well. Nolan Arenado, he's hitting the ball more. 1.5 total bases. We're going to go higher on that. And Jordan Walker got a hit last night. Also a righty going against a lefty. Maybe he gets a big one too. We're going to go higher than Jordan Walker. 1.5 total bases on that one. That's going to get us over 8x our original entry. That's Underdog Fantasy. Super easy to play and even easier to get started. In fact, if you get that entry in now, you can always play live as well on Underdog Fantasy. You just go to their easy-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code ROCC, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first Pick'em entry. That's going to take your entry even higher than that original 8x. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to get your first deposit of $10 or more, up to $100 matched, plus your special pick. Must be 18 plus and present state when Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Conservative play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambler.org.
Time for Take It or Leave It.
Want to say something? Or put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your Take It or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
All right, let's get your texts in, kids. The text number 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO.
Why do you both look, all three of you look at me, ready to say
Or a
yo-ho.
thank you.
Yes.
There you go.
Songbird of our generation over here.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, we all saw the dramatic collision between Tyler O'Neill, former Cardinal, and Rafael Devers of the Red Sox yesterday. And we saw Tyler O'Neill on the field bleeding. Take it or leave it. We'll see him again after the All-Star break.
Randy, come on, I'm going to leave it. He'll come back. He's not going to go on the IL for bleeding. Surely not. But it did not look like a good collision whatsoever. I couldn't believe that. Just the way it was like slow motion and then just quick collision that happened.
I'm going to leave that because you don't get paid on the IL.
That's true.
In future years. So you make sure you stay on the field.
Pro tip, Rafael Devers, if it's Tyler O'Neill, just run out of the way.
Yeah, that's for anybody. Get out of the way.
Yep.
If he's coming, you just get out of the way.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I still don't even understand how that even happened, that situation. The way that it played out, it's like, how do they not see? I know that the sun is in your eyes and everything. Was that on Tyler O'Neill to be a little bit more assertive that he was going
Could've
after
been.
it? Or I didn't understand how that even happened.
Well, anytime an outfielder's coming in, it's his ball until and the infielder goes out until they're called off. And so maybe there was a miscommunication, didn't hear him. It's easier coming in to make that catch. Tyler O'Neill, 7 home runs, 8 runs batted in. He's hitting a bunch of solo home runs right now for the Red Sox.
So Tyler O'Neill was aggressive on a baseball field, you were telling me?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So we talked about Caitlin Clark earlier. Congratulations. Oh,
Did
Randy,
Rafael Devers not look like he was dead?
He stayed down for a while. I was really concerned. Well, I mean, Tyler O'Neill was already big to begin with, but haven't you guys noticed that he looks even more massive here recently?
Yep.
I mean, that's like hitting a brick wall.
TB12.
Anyways, so we talked about Caitlin Clark. She's going to the Indiana Fever. So take it or leave it. Now listen to this part. This part's very important at the beginning, okay? During the course of her career, now pro career, Caitlin Clark will be able to help the WNBA reach the next level. I'm talking about bringing in some more revenue. Everybody was talking about her salary, that she'll be making $76,000 in just her first year in the pros. Now, it's very important to note that doesn't mean that the advertisers that she's been working with will just disappear. I believe that she will have even more so. But by the way, her jersey, nearly all sizes were sold out in just 1 hour.
Wow. I will take that she lifts the WNBA to the next level.
What define next level though?
Next level is I want to see more pay, and maybe more pay coming in when we're talking about that, about the career salaries that we're seeing. I mean, 4 years, I think that it was $338,000. So maybe some more viewership coming in where you would be able to see more money coming into the WNBA.
So that's the key for me, is the TV money. And does she boost it with ratings? Ratings means more advertising. More advertising means more dollars. And would it go into the pockets of the players? So to your point, if that's the way to raise the bar, yeah, I think that could happen.
Take it or leave it. WNBA ratings, and Dan, you mentioned 75% of her games are going to be on national TV?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Her games, just the Caitlin Clark games, equal Major League Baseball regular season national telecast ratings.
I'm going to take that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'm going to take that. Did you see when she was in the Final Four that they outperformed a lot of major sports that was going on at that time?
Everything except football.
Yes.
The 19th highest rated show of the year, right? And since 2019, the highest rated sporting event that wasn't a football game, including all the World Series and NBA Finals and all of that stuff.
Take it or leave it. Number 42 has been retired throughout Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson Day yesterday around MLB, which I love. Roberto Clemente's number 21, take it or leave it, should be retired throughout Major League Baseball as well.
Ooh, I'm going to take that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to take it a step further. I wish there was their number or a patch of some sort that is worn every single uniform, every single day and night, because there are young generations of fans that wake up yesterday and watch a game and they go, what is this? Why is everybody wearing number 42? I don't understand it. It's just, you need to tell the younger generation of how bad this was and to remind them and let them do the research and the homework as to the atrocities that were taking place at that time in our country.
Good point. Dan, did you ever have a time where on a Jackie Robinson Day, especially an opposing team, a pinch hitter, a relief pitcher?
I had no idea who it was. Yes. Had no idea.
Serious?
Well, they're all wearing number 42.
Yeah.
So, because I have that issue.
Yes.
You know, I had to double take it to Andrew Kittredge last night.
You were like, who is that?
Yeah, going through my Rolodex.
Yeah.
That made me more angry again at the FNAX jersey yesterday.
Oh,
It just didn't look, it didn't look like it. It usually looks so clean.
Yeah, they're bad.
Everyone out there with the 42, and it looked even worse than the FNAX jerseys have looked the last month, and it made me new angry all over again that the Jackie Robinson Day just didn't have the same feel like it usually does.
Yeah. Let's get a couple of texts in, Matthew. What do you got?
Take it or leave it. Rashee Rice gets suspended for a grand total of 0 games.
Take it.
really? You think 0 games?
No criminal activity here unless he gets arrested, and he hadn't been arrested yet. Right? I guess he did get some felony stuff, right?
I have no idea.
I believe that he did. I mean, how do you not when you walk away from...
Yeah, no, it's the NFL. And it's
they'll find a way, right? To keep him on the field.
They somehow find a way. And he was missing for, what was it, 2 or 3 days?
Yeah.
There's going to be nothing that happens to him.
And he's still working out with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're doing some side workouts and still going strong.
He was big for my fantasy team last year, so I'm very conflicted on this.
Make sure you keep him on the field then.
I know. Well, that's what I need to know here soon, whether I need to keep him or not.
You think with the Mahomes tie that on the Lamborghini and Corvette he had State Farm insurance?
It's a valid question.
Did you see during the WNBA draft last night that the first person that Caitlin Clark sees when she's trying to go to the tunnel, get to her family, was the State Farm guy?
Jake from State Farm?
Yeah.
That's great. No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
I missed that WNBA draft. I apologize.
Randy. It might be on trivia. You need to be prepared for that.
Shameless product placement is your way in WNBA. Be smart about it. Take it or leave it. The offense, not the pitching, is the reason the Cardinals missed the playoffs.
Ooh, this is a good one.
I'm going to leave that.
I'm going to leave it too.
So currently, the pitching staff's ERA is about 4.5. And you've got some older guys, and it'll be interesting to see if they can, every fifth day with each individual, give them a chance to win. And I would say that could be an Achilles heel moving forward. I like their bullpen. Still think the bullpen is going to be a strong suit of this team, especially if they get healthy. But starting staff, I'm still kind of wait and see.
Yeah, and the big thing with the starting rotation, I just want to see the bullpen have to give 9 outs a night. Mm-hmm. If they can get 6 innings on a regular basis out of their rotation, and that's not asking an awful lot, I don't think. I think they'll be in pretty good shape. Based upon what we got last year out of the starting rotation, if they can get an average of 5 2/3, 6 innings, I think they'll be in pretty good shape. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, the Cardinals are in Oakland for their final series ever there. Then the A's go to Sacramento. How much of a black eye is this A's situation for Rob Manfred in baseball? That's next on 101 ESPN. Here's a message for you home sellers. If you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted real estate agent, take it from me and get to know Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. There's a lot of reasons that you should call Gloria at 314-325-6888. And the main one is her name is her promise. It really says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling process by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she's going to buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. Does your agent compare? Gloria has solutions for every kind of home seller. If you want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria's 24-hour cash offer solution is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer bid from Gloria's database of buyers in what she calls her cash offer bid box. She is the best in the business. If you want to sell your home on your terms quickly and for the most money, call Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
In St. Louis, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. The National Hockey League has been a mess in the past, these last couple of years, with the Arizona Coyotes playing at Mullet Arena, the Arizona State 5,000-seat hockey arena. It's been a mess, no doubt about it. When the Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee, they spent a year in Memphis before moving to Nashville. That was a mess. Dan, Brooke, I don't think I've ever seen more of a mess in sports in terms of a franchise relocation than what we're seeing with the Athletics. The knowledge that they were going to move, and we knew this last year, that they were going to move to Vegas. They come up with a plan to move to Vegas. They have to change the location. And now they're going to play in Sacramento at a minor league ballpark for 3 years before they allegedly get to Vegas. I think with all the issues that the NFL has, that other sports have had, but let's throw the NFL in there with the Chargers and Raiders situation. I think this is the worst relocation boondoggle in the history of sports.
The plan was not in place.
No.
In terms of trying to get the stadium finalized in Vegas, having to move to Sacramento. And if I'm an owner, I'm upset because they're not paying anything for a payroll to be competitive, and they're going to enjoy revenue that comes from other teams. And then they're going to enjoy the boom of going to a new city with a new stadium and everything that goes into that. I'd be pissed. I would say that that's not fair to what I'm trying to do, to be competitive and remain competitive every single year.
It's a terrible look, one, on John Fisher's part, because as you mentioned, Dan, he has not been putting in the right money. It feels like he's just been really tearing this team apart and trying to make sure that there is no Oakland fans whatsoever when they move forward. But then what do they even do moving forward? Because they've had pushback even with Las Vegas. So they're going to stay for 3 seasons in Sacramento. But shouldn't they go ahead and start building whatever they're going to build in Las Vegas? And they still haven't gotten that finalized yet.
No, they're way behind. And this is all, by the way, at the ultimate end of the story. The buck stops at Rob Manfred. This is, John Fisher's an idiot, but Rob Manfred should not be an idiot, and he should never allow something like this to occur.
If you're Rob Manfred, you go in and say, look, if you're going to relocate, we've got other spots that are ready to go. We got Nashville, we got Montreal, we could probably do some type of team in Mexico, and look at it, San Antonio, Portland, Charlotte. Look at other places that are booming right now in our country, other cities, and say that this seems to be more of a viable option. So if you want to gut this thing and do it the way that you think it should be done, and you can't get this done, we'll just step in. We'll step in and try to make this thing happen somewhere else.
This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry to even read this, but from the text line, listen to you all. Tearing up the Oakland A's owners when Cardinals equally are stealing upon fans and have roughly the same record this year. There's a huge difference as to what's going on.
When have the Cardinals talked about leaving the market?
Thank you.
If we can
Let's
start with that.
Or gutting the franchise.
Yeah, right. So
I shouldn't even given that any time, but still, that is a ridiculous statement. And Randy, you brought this up earlier. There is some people, I understand that you get frustrated. You want your team to do well. You want them to win every year. But the DeWitts are in a totally different category than what John Fisher is doing.
The DeWitts built the stadium on their own dime, and they have enhanced the viability of downtown St. Louis. They and Enterprise have enhanced the viability of downtown St. Louis. I'm telling you, be careful of what you wish for, because, and I know that people, A's fans, I get telling John Fisher, sell the team. I hope you realize that if the DeWitts don't own this franchise, it's much more likely that you have an ownership that treats the team like the Pirates or Reds or Twins ownerships or Royals ownerships than the Cardinals have treated this franchise. Oh. It's much more likely with our market size that a new owner would act like we are in the 24th market and shrinking rather than act like we're in the 10th market.
It was tough to see the Rams leave here in St. Louis. Can you imagine, though, what it'd be like if you are an Oakland fan? The Raiders leave. The basketball team moves across the bay. You're going to lose your baseball team. This is a brutal stretch of years now to be an Oakland sports fan. It's awful.
And I'll grant you that the government there has not been helpful. But at some point, whether it was Mark Davis or whether it was the owners of the Warriors or whether it was John Fisher, why didn't anybody take it upon themselves to build a stadium there? They have tons of beautiful land on the waterfront. I don't know why somebody wouldn't have done that, because the most valuable franchises in sports, when you look at the Patriots, when you look at the Cowboys, when you look at the Yankees, when you look at the Cardinals, the most valuable franchise, the Cowboys, did I mention? The most valuable franchises in sports, Rams, are franchises where the ownership owns the stadium, that built the stadium.
And if you're an owner, you're saying we need public financing. Yeah, they're saying you need to pay for the infrastructure, you need to pay for the stadium, and then we'll put in a little bit of money, and then we'll both prosper, ideally. But privately financed stadiums are kind of that's the sticking point of what's going on right now. You know, do citizens want to help? And majority of them are saying no. And does a team owner say, I want 100% privately finance this? No. And that's the crux of this thing. So you go to a place of greener pastures, and Vegas seems to be that. But in how they did this, in terms of there should have been a resolution to the original point, it should have been ironclad prior to moving to have this situation done and to have the exact exit strategy ready to roll, and it wasn't the case.
And the worst part of this is that they're going to play 3 years in a city that has nothing to do with Oakland or Vegas.
Yes.
Exactly. And to your point, Dan, it's terrible for the fans, but why isn't the Players Association also saying anything about what the players are going through in this situation as well? I mean, this is a huge change for them. Now they're going to go to Sacramento. They're going to have to relocate for that, but also knowing that basically John Fisher has been purposely tearing down this organization to get it ready for a move. What does that do for a player?
Well, the players are pawns.
They are, and that's what, and that's where the Players Association should step up in that situation.
What are they going to do?
Stick up for him in some way?
I don't know what the Players Association can do at that point. I mean, they can say that we need to have better accommodations currently at the Oakland Coliseum, but if you're part of an organization, part of Major League Baseball, there's really nothing they can do.
Brooke, the pitch clock, though. The pitch clock.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there you would hope would be some thing that the union could do in going to ownership and not negotiating, but just saying, hey, let's work together on this to make it better for everybody, because it sucks for everybody. And by the way, one of the interesting things, I don't know what they're doing with Oakland, but with the Coyotes, the entire business staff just going to be let go. They're going to stay in Phoenix. So the baseball or hockey operations staff, players, trainers, coaches, they all move. Business staff all stays in Arizona.
Now, the one thing I would say that I feel for the players is that if you're a family, all of a sudden you're relocating.
Yep.
And that's, so to your point, Brooke, I mean, that part sucks. I feel for a player in that regard, but this is the business you chose. And unfortunately, things happen with the organizations that you're with, and that's just part of the deal.
I think ultimately, though, in the next couple of years, as you mentioned it, Dan, the A's need to bring up a player named Mongo. So you can say, Mongo, just a pawn in the game of life.
Right, so now I'm picking it up. But don't you agree? Yeah. I mean, they're just pawns in this thing.
They
totally
are.
You know? They are. In not just in this endeavor, but they really are, as we've learned over the last few years. The owners hold all the juice.
Absolutely.
The players union is powerful, and those guys make a lot of money.
It's the best union in sports.
Yep. But if
Major League Baseball.
But if the owners want something to happen, it happens.
Yeah, and no one's going to feel sorry for a player. I mean, they're making their money, and again, this is the profession you chose, and there are some pitfalls with it, and this would be one of the pitfalls, I would think.
Coming up, one game left for the St. Louis Blues, and John Kelly, the TV voice of the Blues, will join us to talk about the Blues and the Stars and our thought about the young players. That's next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. Against his former team, Sonny Gray shines in his second start of the season in the series opener against the Oakland A's last night. Gray pitching 6 scoreless, allowing just 4 hits while striking out 6, no walks for his 100th career win. Catcher Wilson Contreras leading the Cards bats, going 2 for 4 with a pair of doubles, RBI, and threw a would-be stealer out at second base. Nolan Arenado and Mason Winn adding 2 hits apiece to help the Cardinals to a 3-1 victory over the A's. Something else noteworthy coming out yesterday, Cardinals manager Oli Marmol revealing that Mason Winn Winn has been dealing with lower back stiffness in regards to his recent days off, but told reporters that he believes that Winn is on the other side of it. Your Redbirds are back in action tonight. First pitch is at 8:40 with Lance Lynn on the mound.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we didn't exactly love our main bathroom. So we decided it was time to make a huge change, and we reached out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is EMB Granite. EMB Granite's team came to our house for a free consultation, and they came up with the vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with EMB Granite was stopping by their amazing showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all their different cabinet options. I loved picking out the new colors for our bathroom. Jen was the one who has been working with us, and she has just been fantastic. She came up with so many great ideas that really fit within our budget, which of course is nice when you're doing a big project like that. And that's what they've been doing there at EMB Granite for over 20 years, turning visions into realities. So go and schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their showroom today and mention that I sent you.
Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dan, Randy, the opening drive, 101 ESPN, and we go to the celebrity line of the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly, kind enough to join us on a Tuesday morning. JK, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Randy. How are you?
Good. Hey, I wanted an opinion from you. We just did a segment a couple of segments ago about the young Blues players, and we're going to count Jordan Kyrou in this group. But with Kyrou, Neighbours, Bolduc, Kessel, maybe Perunovich, if the Blues would run it back with that group of young players and the players that they played this year, presuming health again, do you think that group is ascending enough so that the Blues could win 3 more games and be a playoff team next year?
Well, I think that you have to factor in the fact that the Blues have some unrestricted free agents, and they probably have some players that aren't coming back. And I guess the big question regarding next year's team is who are those players that are taking the spots of players that probably won't come back, like a Kapanen, a Blais, some other Scandella. So, just because I think you have a good group of young players, you can't say, well, they're going to grow and push this team into the playoffs. Hopefully they do next year, but I still think there's going to be a percentage of the roster that is going to be filled, and at this time it's unknown. I mean, hopefully that the Blues make some good additions, and who knows if they make any trades and things like that, or if a young Dvorsky makes the team next year. So I think there are a lot of unanswered questions. But certainly the Blues, do have a really good prospect pool, and I was very impressed with, as you said, some of the young players, especially, if you want to throw Cairo into that group, fine, but especially Kessel and Neighbours, two players that have come in this year, then to me have really exceeded expectations. And it's not easy to play in this league as a rookie, regardless if you're 18 or 22 or whatever. It's a tough league, and I think those two guys in particular have really played well.
John, another young player who's a part of that core that we're talking about here moving forward, Zachary Bolduc moving into more of that top six role here in the last few weeks. What have you seen from him, and is that the expectation for him moving forward to just stay within that top six role, and do you think he can really thrive there?
Well, Brooke, it's a hard question because, I'm not trying to be negative, but the facts are that, sometimes players come in late in a season or, players on teams that are the playoffs, they do well. I'll give you an example. Last year, down the stretch, the Blues won a lot of games, as we know, but they were out of the playoffs. And players like Kapanen and Blais and Verona put up really good numbers, right? And this year, those three have not put up really good numbers, to say the least. So why is that? I don't know. Is it because the team is out and there's really not a lot of pressure? I don't know. But Bolduc has come in and played really well, and he's played well in the top line. But I don't think that based on his numbers at the American League level this year, and they weren't great, that you can say for sure he's going to come in and be in your top six. Again, I'm not trying to be negative. I just think it's reality that it's such a hard league, and it's way different when you're playing on teams that are contenders and teams that are in the playoffs. Now, I know the Blues were in contention until last week, so they did play meaningful games. But I've been impressed by him on the top line, and he's handled the pressure, and he's playing against the top defensive pairs, the best checkers, et cetera, and he's done very well. So there's no reason to think that he can't play next year on the Blues for a full-time basis. Whether he's in the top line or the top six, I don't know. I think it's too early to say. But certainly he has shown a lot after what I would consider, again, not a great year in the American League record or scoring-wise. But obviously he grew as the year went on, and his numbers did get better down the stretch.
JK, I think it's happened quietly. I don't know if you would agree, but the season that Parayko had, 211 block shots, 73 takeaways. I thought he was as solid from the opening drop of the puck early in the season to what we see now. How about your takeaway from what you saw from Colton?
100% on the mark, Dan. He came in as a rookie in 15-16. The Blues went to the third round that year, lost to San Jose. And he was fantastic and just got better and better over the next couple of years. And, during the Cup run, we've talked about it. He and Bouwmeester were basically the shutdown pair. They were fantastic. And then Colton got hurt, hurt his back. And for a couple of years, he wasn't the Colton Parayko that we came to know. And he's back to where he was. And I think he's exceeded even his play back in 19. So I would say without a doubt that right now, he is playing the best hockey of his career. He's in the prime of his career, and there's no reason that he can't be a stud defenseman on this roster for whatever, the next, 7, 8, 9 years. He is one of the best shutdown three-zone defenseman that there is right now in the NHL. No question about it.
And J.K., another guy that's playing his best hockey is Robert Thomas. It's interesting because we would always ask Keith Tkachuk, hey, what's Robert Thomas going to become? This is when Thomas was 18, 19 years old. And he said he's going to be Patrice Bergeron. And he's not there yet, but with what he wants to do, and he tells us every week, hey, I've got things to work on. He wants to work on his 200-foot game and his passing ability. It sure seems like he's on his way to being a really, not just a number one center, but one of the top centers in the league.
I agree. He's in the top 20 in scoring. Obviously, he's, career high in points already this year with one game to play. So he's growing a lot. And I think what fans need to understand is I know Robert's not a rookie. He was a rookie back in 18-19, so he's 5 years in. But this is the first full year that he's been the number one center because O'Reilly had that job, obviously, for many years until he got traded last spring. So it's sort of uncharted territory for Robert. And for the most part, he's had a really good season. And he's handled that pressure and played one-on-one games, not one-on-one, but, head-to-head matchups against the likes of McDavid and McKinnon and, others, top players. and has done really well. So, will he be a better player in 2 years? Probably, because he's still a fairly young guy. So, but I was really impressed with his overall game. And, is he going to be as good as Bergeron down the road? That's a high bar. I mean, this guy was Mr. Selke every year, it seems. So he was one of the very best to ever come along and play that two-way role. But Robert has grown into a super, really good two-way center iceman, and, the future is so bright for him. I can see him certainly getting close to 100 points down the road and hopefully winning the Selke Trophy one day. That would be ideal.
JK, how would you describe the season on the ice for Jordan Kyrou? First in goals, tied for first, 5-on-5 points, first in shots by a long margin, nearly 50. And I'm not talking about the contract. I'm not talking about what happened with Craig Berube when he was relieved of his duties. Just what you saw from Jordan Kyrou this year.
Yeah, Dan, I would never analyze a player based on his contract. I know some fans do in other sports. He's an $8 million player. He has to do that. I don't really associate that. That's sort of the owner's issue, right, in the player's business. But how would I analyze this? I think, first of all, he has been very, very good in the last month. He's really stepped up his game. In the biggest games of the year when the Blues needed him, he scored a ton of big goals down the stretch. So I think that he has had a very good season. Obviously, he had 37 goals last year, I believe, 37, 38, so he won't hit that number. But I think offensively he is still obviously the Blues' most dangerous player, and he's one of the most skilled players in the league. Where he still needs to grow, I think, is he needs to be a little bit more consistent. He has these great games and has many great games, but then there are games where instead of having a B- game, he might have a C- game or a D+ game. So I think he needs to be more consistent, and his drop-off can't be as drastic as it is. And, the other thing, Randy and guys, is that he still at times, and he's not the only player, he plays to east-west instead of north-south. So, getting into the blue line and trying to make that hero pass across the ice, it gets picked off, and it's a 3-on-2 the other way. But young players do these things. They make mistakes, and it's hard to get bad habits out of your game at times. So I'd like to see him grow in that area and not play an east-west game and play a more north-south game. He doesn't do it all the time, but again, it creeps into his game at times. So, I would say overall, though, I think he's had a very good season, and he has worked harder, and he's better defensively. But obviously, like most young players, there's still more growth there. So there's my answer.
Hey, John, the Blues season ends tomorrow night. The overall season ends on Thursday. And you've seen every team this year. What team do you think is best built for the playoff run, for a couple of months of gritty, grueling hockey?
Well, I think it's obvious that you'd have to say Vegas because, number one, they're the defending Cup champions. And number two, they're a big, big team that really, they had obviously a lot of skill, but they're built along the lines of the Blues Cup team in 19, and that they're a big, heavy team up front, and they have a really good defense. And they have a better defense than last year because they got Noah Hanifin from Calgary. So the team on paper that obviously I think is as good as any team. Now, having said that, they have injuries, obviously. Mark Stone won't play until game one if he plays. Pietrangelo is out. I was hearing rumblings. He might not be ready for game one of the playoffs. I don't know about his situation. So, as we know in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you don't have time to find your game and to wait for players to come back from injury because you could be out of the series really quick. I mean, it's a best of 7 is a very fast series. So, they have to get healthy quickly and find their game because they'll probably play Edmonton, and Edmonton is a really good team, as we know. And they have perhaps the best player in the world in Connor McDavid. So I think on paper they're the best team. I like Florida a lot. The last half of the season, a team that obviously was an 8 seed last year went to the final. I think they're a tough team. They have a lot of skill, good goaltending. But they haven't played well down the stretch. And I think you'd have to be concerned about that because I think, as we all know, you can't just flip a switch on day one of the playoffs and say, well, don't worry about our poor play or our indifferent play the last month. We're going to start playing really well. You can't really do that. So I'd be a bit concerned about how they played down the stretch.
John Kelly, thanks so much for joining us every Tuesday during the season. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Have a great summer, and we'll do it again next year.
Sounds good, guys. All of you have a great summer, and thanks for listening and taking in my nonsense, so to speak. How's that?
We love it. We love you, and we'll be tuned in tomorrow. Thanks, John.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
John Kelly, TV voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got the fight, and we need a fighter. If you text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO, just your name and the word fight, maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals with a big win yesterday as they start their series out in Oakland. A 3-1 victory over the Athletics. Sonny Gray against his former team goes 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Cardinals back in action tonight, 8:40 p.m. First pitch against those A's. It'll be Lance Lynn, the righty, facing off against a lefty for the Oakland A's, J.P. Sears. Sears on the season is 1-1 with a 5.17 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
To the fight! In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocc here. And it's now time for the fight. And our fighter today is EJ. EJ, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. I feel like I think I hear some kids in the background. Do you have a cheer team cheering you on today?
You know what? He doesn't even know I'm on the radio, but he always mimics the opening to the fight.
Oh, there you go. Well, EJ, are you ready to fight Randy today?
I'm ready.
All right. Here is question number 1. Which metro area has the most championships across the Big Four sports leagues? Is it Boston, New York, or LA?
I'll say Boston.
Is that your final answer, EJ? Is that your final answer, EJ?
Yes.
You know what? I got to say, I think you might be cheating with that youngster in the back. I just want to make sure there's no cheating on this particular fight. How old is the youngster in the back?
The youngster that you hear is 3 years old.
Oh, there's a lot of cheating going on here. Come on.
You're saying the maybe he's giving him answers?
Yeah, what's going on here? All right. On this day in 1991, the Blues became the 8th team in NHL history to come back from a 3-1 deficit against the Red Wings. In Game 7, who scored the game-winning goal just 2 minutes into the third period? Was it Brett Hull, Dan Quinn, or Rich Sutter?
Let's go with Dan Quinn.
All right, final answer?
Yes.
All right, on to question 3.
Who is the all-time Major League Baseball leader in strikeouts as a hitter? Is it Adam Dunn, A-Rod, or Reggie Jackson?
Let's see. Power hitters normally or strikeout kings as well. You say Adam Dunn, Big Dunn.
Adam Dunn, A-Rod, or Reggie Jackson?
Let's go with Reggie Jackson.
All right, on to question 4 we go. Happy birthday to Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado. Against which National League team did Arenado hit his cycle with the Cardinals? Was it the Mets, the Phillies, or the Marlins?
Let's go with Marlins.
Okay, let me go grab Randy.
How are you feeling, EJ?
I'm driving and we're safe, so I'm feeling good.
There you go. There you go. You have a lot. You have a lot that you're juggling right now. So you have the little one in the back. What is the little one's name?
His name is Lennox.
Lennox. Hi, Lennox. If you can hear us.
Say hi, Lennox.
Oh, so cute. Randy is now in the room. Randy, say hi to EJ and Lennox.
EJ, Lennox, how you guys doing? Good morning.
Pretty good. And yourself, Randy, good morning.
Hey, thank you very much for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
And by the way, Lennox is his little child in the background.
How old is Lennox?
3.
He's 3.
Awesome.
3.
Thank you very much for getting Lennox listening early on.
I didn't want you to think that it was going to be a 2-on-1 advantage here, Randy, in the fight today.
Lennox would probably beat me.
All right, here's question number 1.
Okay.
Which metro area has the most championships across the Big Four sports leagues?
Does this include like the Lakers championships in Minneapolis and stuff?
No, it only includes championships when they're won in that city, but it does include championships from other leagues around the Big Four sports. So ABA titles count, WHL titles count as well.
Okay, good. I'm going to think it's a major market. Obviously, the Yankees, the Yankees start with 27, right? The Giants have the 4, the Rangers have a couple, the Knicks have a couple, the Jets have 1, the Mets have a couple. New York seems pretty obvious. Lakers are really the only dominant one in LA. Chicago, no. They've got the Cubs. The Philly, no. San Francisco Bay Area, no. I think the Yankees, because of the New York, because of the Yankees 27. I think that they are probably going to be number 1. New York, Chicago, L.A., Dallas, Houston, Philly. It seems pretty easy to me that it's going to be New York.
Going New York.
Yeah, final answer.
Question 2. This day in 1991, the Blues became the 8th team in NHL history to come back from a 3-1 deficit against Detroit. In Game 7, who scored the game-winning goal just 2 minutes into the third period?
90-91. We beat the Red Wings, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I don't even remember this series. But 90-91, Brett Hull scored 86 goals in the regular season. And it seems like he would have, he was a great playoff scorer, too. And I'm guessing he's probably on the options list. So I'm going to go with Hully.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
On to question 3, Randall.
Okay.
Who is the all-time Major League Baseball leader in strikeouts as a hitter?
Ooh. Okay, for a long time it was Reggie Jackson. And it may still be. I'm going to do the lifeline, though, Brooke.
Okay. Adam Dunn, A-Rod, or Reggie Jackson?
I don't think A-Rod passed. I'm going to go with Mr. October.
Final answer?
Yeah, Adam Dunn struck out a lot.
Couldn't get a sac fly either.
No, he couldn't. Remember that? Yeah.
He went forever without a sac fly.
Yeah.
All right, happy birthday to Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado. Against which National League team did Arenado hit his cycle for with the Cardinals? Cycle against, I should say, with the Cardinals.
Oh, man. Was it against the Rockies? I don't even remember. But I will go with... I'll go with his old team, the Colorado Rockies, just for fun.
Are you done with your answers?
Yes, sir.
Matthew, do your thing.
Another very low-scoring fight today. No need for the tiebreaker, though. EJ facing off against Randy with just a little bit of help. Does he come down with a victory, or does Megamind roll on with another one for the week? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I'm sorry, EJ. Randy Carricker just barely edged you out. He beat you 2-1 today in the fight.
It's all good. I don't know why I avoided the most obvious answer in New York. I don't know if that's correct, but
that's the correct one, EJ. I'm sorry. That's where he got you. Those were you guys both pretty much were locked in on the same 2 of the 4 questions. Which metropolitan area has the most championships across the Big 4 sports leagues? It is New York. They have 59 total, 35 in baseball. Honestly, I would never have guessed they had 8 outside the Yankees in baseball. They have 35 total in baseball. Boston's second on the list with 40 total. So New York almost has the entire list beat with just baseball. On this day in 1991, the Blues became the 8th team in NHL history to come back from a 3-1 deficit, and they did it against the hated Red Wings. In Game 7, it was Sutter. I bet Rich Sutter, who scored the game-winning goal with 2 minutes left in the third period. Dan Quinn scored in the first period. Brett Hull scored in the second.
Was Hully one of the options?
Hully was one of the options. It was just those 3. It was Hully, Quinn, and Sutter.
Richie Bass, eh?
There you go. Who is the all-time MLB leader in strikeouts as a hitter? Mr. October, also Mr. Strikeout, as he is still the all-time leader. Adam Dunn got close, but not close enough. And happy birthday to Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado. Against which NL team did Arenado hit his cycle with the Cardinals? His cycle with the Cardinals a lot less fun than his cycle that he hit with the Rockies. To complete his cycle with the Rockies, he hit a walk-off home run. Cardinals lost their game against the Phillies.
I think that was on Father's Day.
Yes, it was. Too. Cardinals lost their game to the Phillies when he hit for the cycle.
And that was debatable because at first they called it an error.
Yes, that's correct.
And then they reversed it and went with the hit.
That's what I was thinking.
Now, in that same series, I don't think it was the same game. They hit 4 home runs in a row.
Yeah, you're right about that one. I can't remember who it was, though. I believe you're correct. It was the same series. It was a goofy-ass series.
So it wasn't in the same game?
No, it was not in the game. It was
4
not
home runs in a row, I think, were off of Kyle Gibson.
Cardinals lost 5-3 after taking a 3-0 lead against the Phillies in that game, I want to say. And then gave it up for a 5-3 loss to the Phillies. So not as good as his first cycle, but still a cycle nonetheless. For Nolan Arenado and a 2-1 win for Randy Carricker in the fight. EJ, thank you for bringing you and Lennox onto the show and onto the fight today.
No problem. Fun fact. So Lennox is 3, and in 2015, I met Randy in the airport in Chicago with my oldest, who was 3 years old at the time.
How about that?
There it is.
Cool. Should have been a trivia question.
What's your oldest name?
His name is Miles.
All right. Hey, EJ, great to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for playing today. And Lennox, hi.
Say hi. Say hi, Lennox.
Love it. Thanks, man. Take care. See ya. That's EJ and Lennox here on 101
EJ and Lennox. So cute.
Sounds like he said, hi, Megamind.
So I know you guys are this way too. People sometimes will not come up and say hi to me because they're intimidated and they think that I don't want to talk to them. I want to talk to everybody. So if you're ever out and about and you see me, it's an airport, a grocery store, a restaurant, it doesn't matter. Come up and say hi. We're friends. The value of my job is having you as my friend. So come up and say hi to me.
The value of your job is that they pay ultimately for our salaries.
The listeners do. They do.
Yeah.
And I'm being serious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So don't be intimidated. We're nice folk and we love to talk to you.
I'm intimidated by you.
You shouldn't be.
Well, when it comes to trivia, I am. Randy.
Gosh, I can't get rid of that.
No, you can't. You're going to beat me every time.
Oh, no. We would have quite a battle. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, the Blues are missing the playoffs this year, but if you had, or did you have, or were you in a June wedding during the Stanley Cup run in 2019?
This is very specific, Dan. I had nothing to do with this segment yesterday.
Well, you have a little bit. You have a little bit to do with it.
I just exist during that time.
I got to be honest. When I got the rundown, I didn't quite get it, and I had to put the pieces together here.
Here's what I'm thinking. June 8th, girl. What if the Blues were in the Stanley Cup run here? June 8th, girl.
What if I listened to Stillman during that interview that we had?
Well, then you're pretty safe.
There we go.
Right.
Yes.
But Stillman also came on here in January and said he thought the Blues, and Panger told you, right, Brooke? He thought the Blues would win the Stanley Cup. So my question is whether it was during the Stanley Cup run in 2019, were you involved in a May or June wedding that kind of pissed you off because it was during the Stanley Cup run? Or have you ever had an October wedding? I've been at 2 weddings that were held on the day of the Final Four. We know what date that's going to be. What the hell are people thinking? So we want to know. We want your text. If you have the mic drop feature with your 101 ESPN app, if you have a story for us about a wedding or an event during the Stanley Cup run or during a Cardinals World Series run, we want to hear from you. The text line open 314-399-9646, 314-399 yo-ho, or you can send us a mic drop with your 101 ESPN app. And Matthew has a great one for us coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Tuesday morning, Danny Mac back with you. Want to tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go in any of these things. Hey, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. You hear him all over the station. He's been helping out so many of our 101 ESPN listeners. He will help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days. He will get you the best interest rate possible, and he also has the bagel loan, and that can help you out too. You may be asking, what is the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's There's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stuart is your guy. He makes it so easy. Any questions on the rates, the industry, the trends, give Stuart a call. Now, he will pick up his cell phone right now or text him. He'll text you right back. Personal cell phone. Here's the number, 314-324-4440. Again, 314-324-4440. Or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Hey, I've been telling you about AutoLoanPro.com for a while now, and I needed a new vehicle, and I decided to go to Auto Loan Pro, and yesterday picked up a Honda Pilot at Frank Lita Honda, and it has been financed through AutoLoanPro.com. And I'm telling you, it is so easy to work with the folks at AutoLoanPro.com. They are going to work hard to make sure that you get the best rate. I got a fabulous rate on my loan, and they do it right. Their customer service is fabulous, and they know that making a large purchase with finance can be complicated, so they are going to help you out and get on the road towards getting that loan. And if you have any problems at all with your credit rating, here's the rule over at AutoLoanPro.com. If you can make a payment, they can get you a loan. They're working with over 50 lenders to help you get the very best financing, and they're going to put you in a new vehicle, and it's going to be a life changer for you. It has been for me, and it will be for you. Financing a car, there's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro at AutoLoanPro.com. So back during the 1982 World Series Game 3 when Willie McGee hit the 2 home runs and made the 2 spectacular catches, my brother-in-law, as big a baseball fan as us, Cardinals fan,
hit a home run.
Yeah, 2 home runs.
2?
Yeah, 2 home runs and 2 great catches for Willie in that game. And Game 3, he had to be in a wedding. Oh, man, you don't want to be in a wedding. And so with Brooke's nuptials coming up in June, I was wondering, because several years ago, Brooke was following the Blues during the Stanley Cup run. And so I'm wondering if you have a story for us out there in Radioland of a situation where you or a friend of yours had to be, asking for a friend, had to be in a wedding or at a wedding during maybe the Stanley Cup run in 2019 or maybe the Cardinals run to the World Championship in 2011. I get a text from a close friend of mine who says, all weddings should safely be planned on the Wednesday after the baseball All-Star game.
Safely.
Yeah. So that's one of them. But have you guys ever been in that scenario? Charlie Brennan, our friend from KMOX, he got married on Final Four Saturday. And then friend John Goforth, who used to be a salesperson here at 101 ESPN, had his wedding up in Chicago on Final Four Saturday as well. So I've been at a couple of those, but never one that really hurt me to the core where it was one of my teams.
I was in during the Stanley Cup run for the Blues. You mentioned that. So I was in one of my friend's weddings, and it was planned a year in advance. I knew I was going to be your bridesmaid. Didn't think that the Blues were going to do what they were going to do at that time. Of course, going that season, they went from literally the worst in the NHL to the best. And I remember following along, and this is while I was over at KMOV as a sports reporter, and we were like, well, maybe they'll get knocked out in this round. Maybe they'll get knocked out in that round. And then they beat San Jose, and it was like, oh, we got to book a trip now to Boston. But her wedding was the weekend going into that Boston series, because remember, it was on a Monday where they started out in Boston, and her wedding was on a Sunday night. So that game one is on Monday. Her wedding was a Sunday night wedding. So I had to fly to Nashville to be in her wedding, night wedding. I tried to stay up as long as I could. And then I took a mini nap and had to get on a flight, and then just went the entire day, shooting, writing, editing, everything for that game one against the Boston Bruins. And I don't think I slept for a while after that. It was just going, lots of energy drinks. And I just remember saying, of course this would happen where her wedding would be on this moment. It was such a great memory to be a part of, but man, it was a little tough in that moment.
Now it's easier. You can go to the wedding and just put your phone, watching the game, and say, oh, this is so sweet. The nuptials are just beautiful. And you got, oh my God, you guys are the best couple I think I've ever seen prior to your divorce. And sorry. And then you watch the game. You just watch the game on your cell phone.
Is it bad form in 2024 to be watching a game on your phone in church?
Ooh, that's tough.
Bad form, yes. Excusable completely.
Thank you.
Because then you might cheer at the wrong time accidentally. If it's an important game,
as long as
funeral,
you
definitely not.
You just got to theme your cheer correctly, and everyone will just think you're really into it.
Yeah. I was, this from the 314.
Sweet baby Jesus.
I was not at a wedding in June 2019. However, we had a Florida vacation planned, and when the Blues were in their win streak with Binner, that was the 11-game streak in February, I predicted a cup win. We missed the finals and the parade because they were on vacation in Florida.
Oh, no.
Would you rather be at the finals or would you rather be at the parade?
Ooh, I would rather be at the finals. I don't know, but both of them were so cool. But maybe at the finals to be there for that moment specifically.
I know that I would have rather been at the finals in Boston, but the parade was unforgettable.
I know.
Now I have to ask a question. Should I have skipped my friend's bachelor party and gone to the parade?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, wait. Was that
Why
an
not
option
just
for
bring
you?
it? Why not, if it was in
Denver.
Oh, okay.
It was a bachelor party in Denver, already planned, and it happened right over the weekend of the parade. And we had we had an Airbnb, we had tickets to a Rockies game, and I went. But there was part of me as I'm watching how everything happen with the parade on my phone throughout the entire afternoon. That's like I probably could have skipped this trip.
That parade's a top 5 moment for me.
I think that's a fair question. What is okay? Like what big sporting event has to happen for you guys specifically where you say, okay, I can skip this wedding? Now, if you're getting married, you can't skip your own wedding.
Yes,
of
you
course.
can.
No, Randy, you cannot. You can't do that. But what is something that is skippable
for somebody else's wedding? So, and let's just make it so that you aren't in the wedding. Because you can't, if you're in the wedding and you've committed, you have to be there.
I was a bridesmaid for
so
that,
you have
for
no
that
choice,
one. I had
right?
no choice. I had to be in that.
But this is a wedding that you're invited to, and you said, okay, yeah, we'll come and we'll take the free food. For me, once we get into the semifinals, National League Championship Series, Western Conference Finals for the Blues, Western Conference Finals for City, the NFC Championship game back when the Rams were here, those are items that I skip a wedding for. From there on.
If they told me that I could be inside the ropes following Tiger in 2019 final round of the Masters.
Skipping everything?
Yeah, I'm out. And I think the groom, I think, would understand. He'd be like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Hell with this, go.
I do believe that going back to, especially when it's a one and done, I would not have missed that first St. Louis NFL playoff game. There was no chance that I would have missed that. So and you know what? I don't think it mattered if there was a wedding or if I was in it. It didn't matter. I was going to be at that game. Here's one from the 314. Planned my October wedding around a Rams game. Wedding on Saturday and didn't leave for honeymoon until Monday. Found a place in Puerto Vallarta ahead of time to watch the Rams game the following Sunday. This was non-negotiable. You're showing me something, 314. I love you.
Do you skip a funeral?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Well, depends.
Nobody's going to notice.
Yes, they would. Maybe.
No. I skip every funeral for a sporting event. Yeah.
In fairness, yeah, you can skip a funeral. You know why? Because it's a little bit more impromptu. I couldn't have seen it coming 3 months out. I bought these tickets.
Yeah. Yep.
A wedding, that's 6-8 months out.
Yeah.
That time frame's different.
Agreed.
From the 3 and 4, I skipped my buddy's wedding for this year's Mizzou at Kentucky game.
Oh my God.
Okay, now.
Dude. Whoa.
Buddy's wedding. So
Cross
that's
the line on
implying
that one
a
there a
close
little
friend,
bit.
I would assume.
Were you supposed to be in the wedding?
I have to put some thought into this.
That would be really bad.
Because it was a road game at Kentucky. Mizzou was pretty good. And I think it depends on...
Did you say this year's, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I said Mizzou is terrible.
No, Mizzou football.
Football. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Football.
So it depends on...
basketball.
Yep.
Yes, that'd be a huge issue.
Right.
What a friend you are.
That's not
the
a
two
friend.
relationships, the relationship that you have with Mizzou and the relationship that you have with the friend. Obviously, you fell on the correct side because you made your own choice. So I have no problem with that. And by the way, in my own personal opinion, if somebody didn't ever show up at an event for me because of sports, I'm fine with that.
You wouldn't care one bit.
No, I would.
You would be understanding.
I would applaud them.
You would
Instead of
applaud
being
unless
there
it
for
was
that
your funeral, Randy, which I'm not
special
trying to.
night.
I'm not going to be applauding much.
Really, the key is not for us. It's for the lady.
Yeah, right.
I mean, would
Yes.
Joan be upset?
Well, speaking of that one,
That's a good question, Dan.
we just got
Yeah.
this from 636. Our table watched Game 6 of the Blues Blackhawks 2016 playoffs on a phone. Table brought rally towels and everything. I'm not sure the bride appreciated that.
Yeah, you know what?
I think that's kind of cool. It added to the night.
Here's and maybe it was Game 7. I don't the game, maybe not, but she's just selfish. They're
Randy, come
there
on.
are bigger things than her wedding.
This is a rough
Stop.
one. We missed Game 6 of 2011. The rain out on Wednesday. We had our rehearsal dinner Thursday for the makeup. Thanks a lot, Jesus.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
I would be so mad.
Now,
But did the Cardinals win the World Series if they don't have that rain out?
probably not.
Yeah, because it gives them the extra day and everything.
Here's one, Randy. My rehearsal dinner was in 1993 when the Blues played the Blackhawks. I missed Belfort going ballistic, and then on Sunday I boarded a cruise ship to the Caribbean and had no idea what happened in Game 4 of that series until I get back 10 days later from the cruise. That's the way it used to be with cruises. I used to go on cruises in the early 90s. You would have to spend $5 for a 3-day-old USA Today. I mean, I'd get off those ports and I would race to the nearest spot where I could find a USA Today because they didn't. In that day, they didn't have the satellites, and you couldn't watch ESPN on the boats. And you had like Armed Forces radio, but you had to listen for 5 hours to get the scores. So yeah, I would literally go and I got in a lot of trouble for this. I would race to the nearest bodega so that I could find a 3-day-old USA Today.
How was Joan with all this?
Not good.
Yeah. So she understands your fandom, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's a given. Yeah,
okay. So she knew what she was getting into.
Yeah.
We're getting some confessions now on the text line.
My grandfather's funeral was the night of the infield fly rule wild card game with Matt Holliday. I watched the game on my phone in the corner of the room most of the time.
Oof.
A strong move.
Poor Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa would be
I
proud.
bet Grandpa was a Cardinals fan.
Maybe so.
So, yeah, I had a friend that got married in 1986, and the next day, the St. Louis Football Cardinals played the Philadelphia Eagles. Cardinals held on as Greg Garrity was tackled at the 1-yard line to end the game. Randall Cunningham was great in that game, by the way. Might have been the first, it was, for day of Chris Carter's first NFL touchdown, by the way. And this guy was really smart because the following weekend, this guy, by the way, went to that Cardinals-Eagles game. The following weekend, the Cardinals played the Niners in San Francisco, and he just set up the honeymoon for that.
I got something kind of bad I should get off my chest.
Yes.
So back in the day, I was 23 years old. I was supposed to be in a wedding. And this was no, it's not, it's fine. I got asked to fill in on Billiken Radio. Mm-hmm. Rammer was out for some reason doing TV. I can't remember. And I told my groom, I was a groomsman, and I told the guy who's getting married, I got offered a great opportunity. Might be the only time I get a chance to do play-by-play. I need to build a tape, and I got to do this. So I left and went 5 different stops to get to San Francisco and did San Francisco against SLU and missed my buddy's wedding.
Did he
In
understand?
which I was a groomsman.
You did the right thing.
Yeah, he was understanding, but that, as I reflect on it, was probably maybe not the right decision.
I have remained immature in these matters, Dan. So I appreciate your level of maturity as you've grown up, because I would say, man, I had to leave a vacation to do a Billiken game, a family vacation.
Yeah.
I left a family vacation in Florida to do a Billiken game at UAB.
I get that
was
so much.
so young, and I thought maybe this is the only opportunity I get, so I got to do it.
Well,
In a
here's the other
heartbeat,
thing.
I'd do that.
And you and I, we never said no.
I never said no.
And when it was sports,
We still don't.
no, that's true.
Let's get one more.
Did
'cause
you
this
get him
is
a
great.
nice gift, Dan?
I did.
Okay,
yes,
there you go.
I think.
I kept running into our bedroom to yell the updates of Game 6 in 2011 so much that my wife threatened that if I burst the door one more time, she later apologized and understood that she was missing it, due to feeling unwell due to pregnancy.
Proud of you.
Wow.
That's great.
Why would you keep going in there?
Yeah, well, it was Game 6.
It was working.
It was pretty magical. So, hey, thanks for all the response. We do appreciate it. Those are always fun. Coming up, we've got a quick rush hour reset for you here on 101 ESPN. It is so simple to get the energy level that you had as a youngster back by going to Mentality at lowtusa.com. They have clinics in Chesterfield and in South County. And if you do want to get your energy level back, you want to get your testosterone level back. And that's what they do at Mentality. Their board-certified physicians will provide a complete physical exam of you with a consultation, a complete blood panel, and results with the very first visit. And they'll determine where your testosterone level is. As our testosterone level decreases, our energy decreases. So they're going to bring it back with an FDA-approved testosterone treatment that will get your level of testosterone back to the high end of normal in your body, and you will feel so much different. You'll have so much more energy. You'll be able to coach your kids' teams. You'll be able to walk 18 holes of golf, and you'll just feel great. And at Mentality, they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as possible. Go to lowtusa.com. I see so many guys in there every week that are getting their energy level back, and they recognize that Mentality has made a huge difference in their lives. Get to Mentality. Get started now at lowtusa.com.
At rnrtires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
9:12, the time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. A quick rush hour reset. Not much going on last night in the world of sports. The Cardinals over the A's 3-1. Sonny Gray was terrific. 6 innings, 72 pitches, 50 strikes. He allowed 5 hits. He didn't walk anybody, and he was a man who struck out 6 hitters last night. And Gray has yet to allow a run in 11 innings as a Cardinal starter. He has been magnificent in his first 2 starts.
Also, no walks. That's another big thing, Dan. You pointed that out earlier. So now that's 11 consecutive shutout innings to start his Cardinals career. I can't wait to see what he looks like without a pitch count.
And they had 8 hits in the game, and 5 of the 8 come from the middle of the lineup. We've talked so much about the pitching going into this season. Start of the season, kind of a lack of offense at times, and you look at Nootbaar, Arenado, Contreras, 2 more hits for Winn, 370 now his average, and Nootbaar hitting third in the lineup, something to keep an eye on as we move forward, trying to get somebody that has a high on-base percentage, getting on before some of the big guys come up, and maybe that'll pay off as they move down the stretch.
Nolan Arenado looks good right now. We talked about that earlier. It looks like he really just has turned a corner since he hit that big home run in that Diamondback series. He has 9 RBI, and he's really just hitting the ball hard. 5 doubles so far for him this season. And Wilson Contreras, I just think a big theme for Wilson that I really like, just him character-wise, is the way that he's able to battle. We know that he's been dealing with that left hand injury, that he's nursing that currently, but you wouldn't guess it, and it hasn't really slowed him down. 2 for 4 last night, a couple of doubles, threw a would-be stealer out at second base, and his hitting streak extended to 9 straight. And I know that he's still dealing with that left hand injury, but to me, he looks great, and I just love the energy that he brings to this team.
It's really important, especially with all the kids, because this has been a business-like team in the past. I think the Wilson Contreras energy is a big part of it. The Cardinals, by the way, after this series, welcome Milwaukee to town. The Brewers lost last night. They and Pittsburgh are tied for the top spot in the Central. The Cubs a half game back, Reds a game and a half back, and the Cardinals only 3 back in the division. So it's really tight early on, and at the end of the season, you're going to have to pile up those wins. Not pile up, but you're going to have to compete with the likes of the Brewers. You in your 14 games against Milwaukee, you probably have to go 7-7 if you're going to be able to beat them out.
And last night was pretty simple, the formula to win, and probably, formula to win all season for the Cardinals is that you got a quality start. They haven't had many of those this year. Then the bullpen, Kittredge, Romero, Helsley. And when Helsley's coming into games, he's locking those down. So that is the idea. Get decent starting pitching. Your bullpen should be a strength, and a little timely hitting in the middle of the lineup, which they got last night.
Meanwhile, last night, the Buffalo Sabres fired Don Granato, former Blues assistant and Blues minor league coach, as the Sabres head coach. The longest playoff drought in the NHL continues for the Sabres, and not good news for Rashee Rice, although he will be participating in the Chiefs offseason program virtually. He's been sued for $1 million in actual damages and $10 million in punitive damages for that crash that he was involved in last month in Dallas, Texas.
What happens at this point with Rashee Rice?
I think it's all going to be about what happens in the criminal complaint filed against him. And the Chiefs say that they are keeping an eye on that. I think they're an organization, by the way, because of what happened with Andy Reid's son. They need to be very cognizant of what happens with their players and vehicles.
Exactly.
So I would hope that they'll take a close look at it. But here's the thing. They kind of need Rashee Rice, too.
Oh, yeah. He was a top receiver for them, and apparently he's still working out with Patrick Mahomes. We also should mention in this rush hour reset, Caitlin Clark is the #1 overall pick in the WNBA, and she's about to make a bunch of money, not by salary, but by everything else, and we'll see if that boosts some of the ratings for the WNBA and what that means for that league.
I really hope that it does. It is very jarring. Everybody was talking about it on social media last night when you see in her first year she's making $76,000, but that just shows you where the WNBA is at currently right now.
And she made more than $1 million in college, and she'll make more than $1 million from endorsements.
Somebody was saying, maybe I read this, that she'll make $7 to $10 million in endorsements.
Yeah, I would think so.
That seems probably right.
Yeah, she's
going to be a moneymaker for sure.
Yeah, there are so many companies that will want to associate with Caitlin Clark because she has changed the way sports is viewed in our country. Just look at already, she's doing Subway, she's doing State Farm. She'll get everything that Mahomes gets. All the stuff that you see Mahomes on, you'll see Caitlin Clark on too.
Exactly. And she has a lot of endorsements coming in. I was talking about during the WNBA draft last night, right before she was trying to get into the tunnel to see her parents, the first person she sees is the guy from State Farm.
You're right. Jake from State Farm?
Hey, you got to, I think so. They've changed their characters. I guess I shouldn't say characters, but actors over the years. So I can't exactly keep up with all of it, but it is one of the State Farm guys.
Good for her. Good to hang out with a State Farm guy.
Hey, more money.
More money.
More money coming in.
There's your rush hour reset. Coming up, the NHL has a really interesting approach to getting to Salt Lake City and getting back to Arizona. But of all leagues, should hockey be the team that crashes through the 32-team barrier? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, had a chance to visit with my buddy Chuck Nash from the Fenton Bar and Grill yesterday. They've got so much cool stuff going on at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, they have bands out on the patio. If you have a party to take out to the Fenton Bar and Grill, if you have a large group of people, just give them a call and make a reservation, and they'll be glad to handle your large group of people. And make sure, regardless of whether it's just you and somebody else, maybe you're alone, or maybe you are taking 16, 20, 30 people out to the Fenton Bar and Grill, enjoy the greatest trash wings that you'll ever have. You're going to get them at the Fenton Bar and Grill. You can either get their signature golden sauce or ranch, and you're going to love it. They have a fantastic menu, great service. Alicia will be out there. You can say hi to the feisty redhead Kelly. You can say hi to Megan and Colleen and the whole gang out there at the Fenton Bar and Grill, and you are going to have a great experience. And it's really all about sports. That's the reason I love it so much. Is you go to the Fenton Bar and Grill, you're going to be watching sports on TV. The Cardinals tonight, the Blues finale tomorrow. You're going to enjoy it. They're going to have beer specials for you. You will love the Fenton Bar and Grill. Lunch today out on the patio. Happy hour is great. After golf, anytime, the Fenton Bar and Grill. Learn more at FentonBarandGrill.com and tell them Randy sent you. The NHL's Arizona Coyotes are moving to Salt Lake City. They're going to be purchased by Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz. Now, this is kind of a convoluted situation. The league is taking over the Coyotes. They're buying them from their Phoenix owner, Alex Muerello. He is going to retain the name of the Coyotes, and he has the right of first refusal, if he can get an arena built within 5 years, to bring the Coyotes back to the NHL as their 33rd team. The league, after purchasing the Coyotes from Alex Muerello, is going to sell them for $1.2 billion to Ryan Smith. They bought him for $1 billion, selling him for $1.2 billion, and then they'll disperse that extra $200,000 or $2 million, I guess, among the NHL owners. So Salt Lake City will have a team. It'll have a new name, but it'll be the Coyotes players, coaches, trainers, front office people. The business people from the Arizona Coyotes are not coming along. I'm guessing that they'll just combine the business operations of the Jazz and the Coyotes. So we're going to have 32 NHL teams, and it's good for the NHL to be in Salt Lake City. Here's the thing that I wonder about, though, guys. Of all the leagues, Major League Baseball, looking at markets like Montreal and looking at Charlotte, looking at Nashville, already moving into Vegas. You've got the NFL, the most powerful league in the world that seems very content with 32 teams. You've got the NBA. They could easily expand into Seattle. They could do more in the Midwest. They could come to St. Louis. Of all the leagues, are you surprised that the first one to crash the 32-team barrier is going to be the National Hockey League? I'm
very surprised because it still feels like, especially when you compare some of the player contracts to what you see in other professional sports leagues, it's still not there yet, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's surprising that they've reached this point because it seems like you should focus on continuing just to grow the game and the teams that you have currently right now. And expanding that much, you worry about diluting the product, and by the product, I mean the players.
I thought baseball would be the one that did this first.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a regional sport. It's not America's national pastime anymore. That torch has been passed to football, and with this being a regional sport, getting into more networks that would carry it in that particular area, high density area for population. I thought that you look at Nashville, you look at San Antonio, you could look at Mexico City, go back to Montreal. There's a lot of different places that would be accepting of this, and so I was thinking baseball would be the first team to do it, and then he could realign as well with the way that it's done in the leagues.
One of the interesting things about this, though, is that you do have a couple of really troubled baseball franchises. The A's apparently are on their way to Vegas, and Tampa is building a new stadium. In the National Hockey League, where it is strictly a local sport, it's not a national sport, each of the individual teams are basically making their money from where they are. Is there an NHL team that's in real trouble? Aside from Arizona, I think the NHL, because of the way they're set up, seems to be doing pretty well in the markets that they're in.
What about Winnipeg?
They aren't selling as many tickets, but Bettman, because they sold all the tickets when they came back from Atlanta, he sees the potential there. And I would think that if Winnipeg, and granted, they're really good this year and they should be selling more tickets, but I would think if marketed properly, the Jets, every Canadian team should be able to sell enough tickets, right?
Canadian markets, absolutely. That's why I find it shocking that they're not selling enough tickets and that Gary Bettman had to go to Winnipeg prior to a game and address the situation with their fan base. And that surprises me because I always look at it, as long as they have a building that's decent and up to scale, that Canadian fans are going to come out, especially in one sports city towns.
Another thing I would be concerned about is that how we talk about baseball with the TV contracts and concerns about that, that's also a big issue that the NHL has to address here too. Mm-hmm. You would hope, if you're an NHL owner and if you're the NHL, you hope that maybe you would be able to form some sort of partnership. If you have a Major League Baseball team or something else in town, what does that look like for the NHL and when they're expanding things and where that TV revenue is going to be coming in?
Well, that's one thing about Arizona is that Bally has bailed on Arizona, and they've got a channel that is shared between the Coyotes and the Suns and the Diamondbacks. That's what's going to have to happen ultimately. Is the Cardinals used to have, was it Sports Time when they first got started, that was produced by Bud Sports, and it was essentially the Cardinals' own network. You look at Yes, you look at Marquee, you look at, what's the Dodgers one called?
Comcast,
Sportsnet. Ultimately, all the teams are going to have to do their own legwork in building. This is what I foresee in building their own local TV entities. And ultimately, I think that's going to wind up being better financially for them.
I think if you're the NHL, you really don't want to leave the market of Phoenix either. They have built that up over the years. There are good young players that are coming out of the Phoenix market.
The best player, Austin Matthews.
Yeah. Shane Doan's kid is a really good player that is born and raised there. So there's a lot of good talent coming out of there. I just don't think you'd want to leave that market.
No,
but if the situation is what it is, where they can't get a building, you can't be playing in front of 6,000 fans.
No, you can't. And the auction, the Arizona state government is auctioning off is on June 27th. That's just too late. And what Bettman told the owner, Muerello, is, hey, if you get a concrete plan for an arena, you've got the thing. You get it back. And he gets it back at pennies on the dollar for a franchise.
You ever see anything like that?
No.
We say you got a chance to come back, just work it out.
Yeah.
That tells you how badly they want to be in that market.
And they should. It's the 10th biggest market, and it's growing. They add 100,000 people every year, and the franchise did draw well when they got there and they were winning. They've been a horrific franchise in a bad location and with bad ownership. They've been through a different owner every 5 years there. They have had the NHL no chance to succeed in the Valley. And if they get an arena in the right place and a reasonably competitive franchise, they're going to be fine.
Exactly. You hate to see it, though, but of course, it seems like it just was not working out there in Arizona.
No. And they'll have to go 4 or 5 years without a franchise, but then they'll be fine.
Will they? You think the fans will come back? I mean, you do this to enough. It's kind of like the Miami situation where, and I look at Tampa Bay as well, when they talk about building new places for Tampa Bay, and you look at Miami, kind of the similar situation, a lot of transplants in those areas, especially Tampa Bay, and you look at Miami. How many times can you upset a fan base where the fans just say, Uncle, I've had enough?
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is one of those spots too.
But I think a lot of people out there, because when they built out in Glendale, it's just too far away. If they build in Scottsdale, where the population base is, and that's where the money is, and that's where the transplants are, I think you'll get St. Louis fans, Chicago fans, Philadelphia fans. But I think you'll also have a generation, because it is the Coyotes, and if you can get Austin Matthews out there, I think you can do some things. One of the things you'll have to do, though, is when Matthews' contract is up in 5 years, if you're Bettman, get him to that franchise, and then you'll be on your way, I think. That's Dan, that's Brooke, I'm Randy. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, with the transfer portal and name, image, likeness, will there ever come a point that the NFL would be better off with their own minor leagues? That's next on 101 ESPN. I use my Schnucks Rewards app all the time, and one of the cool things about Schnucks Rewards is that they curate special savings in the Schnucks Rewards app just for you on the things that you buy most. They aren't savings for your neighbor. They're not for me. They're personalized savings only for you. All you have to do is tap the savings icon in the Schnucks Rewards app, and it'll load all the personalized savings for the items that you buy the most, and they change every week. Then just clip the digital coupon and start saving. Personalized savings just for you in the Schnucks Rewards app. I use it, and you should too. And there's some other cool things happening with Schnucks. They're rewarding you for getting active this month. Join the Schnucks Healthier Habits Steps Challenge to earn $5 in Schnucks Rewards points each week in April by hitting the 50,000 step weekly goal. That means you can earn $20 in Schnucks Rewards in April just for being active. All the participants will be entered to win one of 6 prizes between $100 and $500 in Schnucks Rewards points. It really is incredible. For more information and to join today, visit schnucks.com/healthier habits, and don't forget to download that Schnucks Rewards app.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club so much. It really feels like when I joined that I joined a community. They're really helping me reach all of my goals that I've set for myself in 2024, including getting back into better shape. I was already in good shape. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying better shape, especially with, as Randy revealed, my big day coming up here soon. I work out with Christine twice a week, and every time I go there, I'm actually going there today at the West location. It feels like I'm just hanging out with Christine, even though she's pushing me a lot. It's always so much fun to meet up with her. And also, I'm getting back into tennis over at the Missouri Athletic Club with Scott, and they always provide a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals with a win in Game 1 in Oakland, 3-1. Sonny Gray against his former team. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 0 runs allowed, 0 walks, and 6 strikeouts. The Cardinals will go for a win again tonight, 8:40 p.m. against the A's. It'll be the lefty J.P. Sears facing off against Lance Lynn for the Cardinals. Also going on right now on ESPN, they are reporting that Rashee Rice and SMU's Teddy Knox are being sued in Texas for over $1 million in actual damages and $10 million in punitive damage stemming from their 6-vehicle crash back on March 30th in the Dallas area. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
One of the reasons that Nick Saban left college football is because of the entitlement of NFL or players that are accepting NIL money. And as he said, when he had a breakfast for potential players and their families one morning, his wife came to him and said, Miss Terry said, "Why are we doing this?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, we're in this business to help people improve their lot in life. All these people care about is the money that they're going to get." And it kind of hit him. And one of the things that Saban said is that the entitlement that those players that only concern themselves with money are coming to him with, they're going to the NFL with the same mentality. And you wonder if a player goes to an NFL team. Let's say a quarterback has played for 3 college football franchises and has had 3 different offensive coordinators or 4 different offensive coordinators. How prepared is that player in his preparation to be a quarterback in the NFL? And was that all a result of him going for the almighty dollar in NIL?
Here's the thing, though. While NIL is, of course, a big topic of discussion here, and I get what Nick Saban is saying, it's not like the money hasn't been there behind closed doors. This isn't something that's completely new. It's just actually out in the forefront more.
But now players, because it's out in the forefront, I wonder if players before would come and say, hey, how much money do I get from Nick Saban? Now they're coming to him and saying, how much money do I get? It used to be they would come and I'm sure some of them were getting under the table money, but others were saying, okay, how long will it take me before I start? When do I get playing time? How long should I stay here before I go to the NFL? Now it's the first question is, how much money do I get?
If I'm the NFL, I want no changes whatsoever. I don't have to pay for any kind of minor leagues. I don't have to pay for anything. The colleges provide that for me. And I think, Randy, you can figure out whether the kid can play or not if he changes systems. If a kid changes systems, you can figure out what kind of player he is. You got tape on him. I understand that it may change things a little bit, but I think they can figure out the kind of player it is. And in terms of, I don't blame the kids going to Alabama and saying, how much money are you going to pay me? I'd do that.
Oh, yeah.
I do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But he was just talking about the change in players. And if your motivation switches from playing for a championship team or even from being good enough to be a first-round choice in the NFL to how much you get when you're 18 as a freshman from the NIL people, then it just goes to show that your primary focus at that point in time isn't on being great or helping your team be great.
There's the key. Helping your team be great, because it's become me, which, you know, let's face it, some of these kids come from really tough lots in life, and this is a way to help their families get out of where they're at. So I've got no problem about that. I do wonder with the coaching, if you're not going to become a better player, let's say you stay for the 3 years, your 4 years, does a coach make that much difference in the type of player you may be? Yeah. That could happen, and you went for the money immediately. Did it have a long-term effect, though, on what kind of player maybe you turn out to be, depending on the coach that you have?
Yeah, and I think we are in agreement here. Ultimately, the NFL doesn't care about the quality of their product. They don't have to care about the quality of their product, so they don't have to develop their own minor league system. They might be able to use
How about they say
UFL as a developmental.
They don't have to pay for it.
Right.
That's a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And college will deliver them players regardless of how good those players are or how selfish or how much team players those are. College will deliver them players, and they can grab some guys from the UFL. But at the end of the day, if you compare the product that we're watching right now in the football product, which is very competitive and very compelling, but just the football product that compared to what we watched here between 1999 and 2003, there is no comparison.
Yeah.
The rules have changed. You can't play defense anymore. You can't kick off return anymore. So it's just a completely different sport, and it has become much more of an individual sport.
But that's true with so many other sports. We talk about it with baseball. We talk about everything that's going on currently right now with the whole pitcher situation, with the amount of injuries we're seeing. And we've discussed about one of the big reasons is because at a younger age, the specialization that we're starting to see in sports, that's happening across the board, whether it's baseball, football, anything like that. You're seeing more and more of that specialization of sports where it does turn into more of an I rather than how do we as a team win. Now, in regards to the question with the NFL, I don't know what you can change about this, because the NFL right now has it so good where it's like, do they even need, if you say, because I remember there were some talks when it was back to just the XFL, would there be some sort of partnership with the NFL? The NFL doesn't need to, because they can just go pluck the players right when the season's done, because it's a spring season, and take them, and they don't need, they can even use basically some of the things that the XFL does, like different rule changes, test things out, and just take the idea basically.
And the XFL lost $60 million last year. The NFL doesn't want to lose $60 million on a developmental league.
See, that to me, when you ask the question, is the NFL better off with their own minor leagues rather than the current model? And I vehemently would say no, because they don't have to pay for it.
Right.
The colleges are paying for it. The colleges are developing these kids. The colleges are making them bigger, faster, and stronger. And the NFL has zero to do with that. They don't have to do anything.
And so the question is there ever an imaginable point where the amount that how much money you're saving by getting a completely free developmental league is offset by the fact that the developmental league that you're getting it from isn't successfully actually developing them anymore, and now your product is hurt? Like, is there actually a point where those two things meet and the NFL has to make a decision and say, we have to develop something where we have more of a hand in it, where maybe we can develop coaching staffs and things like that, where it's like an organizational thing where you have a minor league team?
Here's my question. Are we still going to have point spreads on the games?
Yes.
Then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I was going with this, too.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And do we really think it's going to get to that point where kids are not developed so well by colleges that they don't compete on the top levels of the NFL? No way.
The top level of the NFL has changed.
If you can play, you find kids.
Yeah, it'll continue to change. And one of the Saban talked about dealing with the way kids are coached in college. Look at the way that players are coached now in the NFL. The last year the Rams were here, Jeff Fisher told me that he had 40 two-a-day practices in his last year, 2010, in Tennessee. 5 years later, he had half of that. He had 20 He went from 40 practices in training camp to 20 practices in training camp. Two-a-days aren't allowed anymore. You don't get players during the offseason. You used to get 40 days of OTAs. Now you get 15 or something like, maybe it was 30 and you get 15. So coaches like Dick Vermeil have half as many opportunities to get their hands on coaching players.
Yeah, it's been a big change. And the thing is that I think that you are seeing more and more athletic talent, which, of course, there's always been athletes. But you guys get what I'm saying is that you're seeing more and more athletes now. It's just the fundamentals, what you're talking about there with the practices and stuff. You're not able to implement that as much.
Bingo. Exactly.
Ben Macklin Jr. does say on the YouTube chat, NFL Europe happened, but I have to wonder how much of that was actually about having a developmental league and how much of that was trying to make money off of a different market.
Well, everybody's been trying to do spring football.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
You know, that to me is that there's a thirst for football nonstop. If you can have it year round, and really we're not that far when you think about it from NFL training camps.
I mean, is that what it is? Is it just the UFL has enough sustained success and the NFL says, like the UFL, let's just say like there's we live in a world where the UFL runs consecutively for like 10 uninterrupted seasons. Does the NFL then, I know, I'm just saying, does the NFL then say in that situation, okay, let's meet up here and make something work here combined?
But they don't have to pay for it.
That's the thing.
That's the big thing, right?
Have to pay for it. Yep. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got rock and roll, and we've got Cardinal tickets for next week's Budweiser Bash. We're going to give those away next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you want to improve the visibility of your company, you want to use social media and you want to use digital. And that's why we have 2060 Digital. It's right here in our Hubbard building. It is backed by 100 years of experience in media. And it's a sister of us right here at 101 ESPN. And it's a place where you can make connections. When you go to 2060 Digital, they're going to have a great plan for you for your social media plan and your digital strategy. And with 2060 Digital, 12 years of expertise is there. They specialize in simplifying the complex parts of digital marketing. If you want to market digitally in a perfect manner, get in touch with 2060 Digital at 101ESPN.com/2060 Digital. It'll enhance your brand's online presence. It'll optimize your digital campaign, and you can increase customer engagement at 2060 Digital. Go to 101ESPN.com/2060 Digital. The Cardinal Bud Bash coming up next Tuesday at the ballpark, and 101 ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets for that Bud Bash against the Diamondbacks. Next week, the first Bud Bash game of the season, and features a limited edition Jeff Suppan bobblehead. Get all the details on this season's series of Budweiser Bash Cardinals games now at cardinals.com/promotions that you can text in right now to 314-399-9646, 314-399 Yo-ho! Brooke, you only used one arm.
Why did you have to point that out?
Because everybody watching on the YouTube knows.
Well, sometimes you don't have to point everything out, Randy.
Well, everybody watching on the YouTube knows. We wanted to know if you're okay.
I know it's cold in here, and so I was kind of like hiding my arms a little bit under my jacket. Okay. So it's a tad chilly.
We've got a question for you about Jeff Suppan. And the question is, and when you do text in and answer this question correctly, texter number 37 will win the Budweiser Bash tickets, okay, against the Diamondbacks.
In honor of his number.
Right, 37 was Jeff Suppan's number with the Cardinals. And the question is, what team were the Cardinals playing in the postseason when Jeff Suppan hit his postseason home run? What team were the Cardinals playing in the postseason when Jeff Suppan hit his postseason home run? Texter number 37 that gets it right gets the 4-pack of tickets to the Budweiser Bash game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, Matthew, what do you got for us?
Credit to Danny Mack for dropping this audio last night, because Chris Rose had Tyler Glasnow on his show earlier this week, and he asked him about, well, the biggest story going on with the Dodgers right now, and that is, of course, of Shohei and Ippei, and he asked him kind of what their feel was on the case, and if they were supportive of Shohei from the get-go, and how they were supportive of Shohei from the get-go.
No, yeah, there was it was nothing like super formal, but we were all like, dude, we got your back, like, we know. I just think, too, being in the clubhouse, everyone, like, knew right away, like, clearly he had nothing to do with it. Like, the first thing he did was, like, take my phone. Like, he was like, figure this out. Like, we all knew early on that Ippei was doing some shady stuff. So I think it didn't seem like he was very stressed about it either. I think when you know that you've done nothing, it's just like, it's only a matter of time before they, like, figure it all out. It seems like there has not been any mental sweat lost on his part, and I'm glad all this stuff has come out so he can now just, like, I would say, focus on stuff. I'm sure he's going to get asked about this all year, but he'll handle it well.
I don't know if he's going to be asked all year. I think it's kind of been put to bed, and it obviously didn't matter one bit because he's actually off to a better start offensively than he is in his MVP years, than he has been in the MVP years. That's how well he's played. So you got the pressure of $700 million. You got an interpreter that stole $16 million in betting. You've been aligned with something that obviously would be a black eye for the sport, and apparently it doesn't matter for Ohtani because he's off to the best start of his career.
He's not phased whatsoever. I think the key part of what Glass now said there is that we all knew that he was shady, talking about Ippei.
Yep.
So if they could pick up on that, Shohei Ohtani, I wonder if he had any sort of inkling or just feeling, because that is the big question here, is how much did Shohei Ohtani know? Did he have any feeling? Did he know about any of this? I know that some of the reports came out this weekend that Ippei was turning off the notifications, but when you see the amount of money that they have discovered that he used of Shohei Ohtani's over the course of, 4-ish years even, that we know of, it's a lot of money that came out of that bank account.
It is a tremendous amount of money, but from a percentage standpoint, with all the money that Ohtani makes, because he's doing 10 figures in endorsements, $16 million is a drop in the bucket for him.
16,000 bets that he made.
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, just maybe you walk in on hey, what's going on? No, nothing. I'm putting down my phone. I'm not making this bet.
Yeah.
16,000.
Incredible
that he apparently made. That's hard to do, and it's hard to hide, I would think, from other people, but he did it.
And by the way, in 1,900 pages of text messages between Ohtani and Ippei, there was never a mention of gambling, not once.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is that maybe the only thing I could somewhat liken to, not the spending money like that, of course, but, you might have been in a relationship that you were cheated in, and you have maybe somewhat of feeling, but you try to catch them in the act, and you never exactly can, so then you try to just maybe hope that it goes away, and then it just is thrown right in your face. That's the only thing I can think of.
Boy, is this from experience?
I'm not saying from personal experience, that's what I'm saying. But I'm trying to think where there's definitely times where I look back and one, and maybe a friend of a friend, of course, like a relationship, you look back, it's like, man, there were a lot of signs there, and I just chose to ignore that, huh? Or, I mean, that friend, not me. Of course.
Not you.
Yeah, oopsies.
This is dark. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Let's go back to 8:45. We had a lot of fun. We were throwing up. People were giving us a lot of stories, and I pulled a couple ones from that segment because we didn't get to enough, and there were a ton. This was from the 502 earlier. I got married the day after the Cardinals won the 2006 World Series. When my wife asked originally if that would conflict with the wedding, I said, nah, we don't have to worry about it. I don't think the Cards will make it that far this year. I did catch the last 2 innings after the rehearsal dinner and got married the next day.
Well, you could put it on television at your rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, that's what happened with both of the Final Fours that I was at weddings for. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The thing is, though, if you have tickets, that's a big question.
Another person said in 2001, Arizona, where he went, was in the Final Four, and he had to be the groomsman for a wedding. He goes, no smartphones, no nothing. So he said he had an earbud in his ear during the wedding. He said he missed a cue during the wedding. He goes, it's okay, they're divorced now.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's the question was, during June of 2019, were you involved in, or did you know somebody who was involved in a wedding? Because June, obviously, the biggest month for weddings, and the Blues were in the Stanley Cup Run, and I think that would be a real dilemma. Well, here's the thing.
Brooke is getting married in June.
And Brooke is getting married in June.
I know. I felt like this was a segment directed at me.
It certainly was. So here's the thing.
He
Brooke,
said no, and he said yes.
If we were on a Stanley Cup run in 2024, that ain't going to happen. But I'd show up for the reception.
Randy.
Okay, here's the thing, Randy. We got a great text.
I'd be there.
Considering we talk about this, we have to hit this one because we need people to give advice. Do you tell the bride and groom why you're skipping? If it's a ticket situation.
If it's really, it depends on how close you are to that person. I mean, if it's your brother or sister, then probably you owe them somewhat of an explanation.
You're sick.
Food poisoning.
I'm sorry, I can't make it today.
Food poisoning.
I got to stay in bed the whole time.
Yeah.
Then you go to the game and hope you don't show up.
And then they see you somehow, because conveniently that's how it all works, is that you'll be put on the big screen or on TV.
We've all seen a sitcom.
Or you're going to be like on the cover of the newspaper,
right.
and it's right there, you celebrating.
Sports is bigger than life. I think that's what we've got to draw from
Is
this
that
today.
the advice that we're giving?
Yeah, we've got to ask Uncle Randy tomorrow, but that's a preemptive one for you. Sports is bigger than life.
Life lessons with Randy Carricker.
Yes. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocc. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, despite being drawn into that conversation, did you have fun today?
I did, yeah. I think I took some notes on when to not plan a wedding, and I don't know if there's ever a good time.
I don't think we need to worry about this anymore.
Nope. It's happening either way.
Just once, yep. So, no, you picked the perfect year. The Blues are missing the playoffs, and the Cardinals are the Cardinals. And the Rockies are in town. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
Danny Mac, awesome as always.
You too, buddy. Pleasure.
It's our guy, Dan McLaughlin. We thank, and by the way, Tim McKernan coming up with T-Mac and Ajax and a balloon party coming up here on 101 ESPN, and then BK and Ferrario followed by the Fast Lane, and we'll have a big day of sports. Sad news today. We learned that Whitey Herzog, the former Cardinal manager, has passed away at the age of 92. He had been ill. He had been in hospice for the last few days. I know he was at the Cardinals home opener, and Whitey, unfortunately, that's the last time we had an opportunity to see him. I learned baseball from Whitey Herzog and Jack Buck, and I'm so appreciative of being able to watch his teams and learning how great baseball should be run. He was not only a great manager, he was a great ambassador for St. Louis, obviously a Hall of Famer and somebody that we'll never forget, and I'm sure we'll talk throughout the day about the passing of the great Hall of Famer Whitey Herzog.
Can't say it any better.
No, he was the
wonderful
best.
man.
So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll talk about Whitey tomorrow. Dan and I have some great Whitey stories in our interactions with him. For all of us, thanks for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. Till tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great Taco Tuesday, everyone.
That's right.
Hey, everyone. It's Brooke here.